Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the August, August 2020 Town of Rochester Town Board Audit Workshop meeting. The first part of the meeting is the auditing of the bills. The town board is doing that now, and we will be convening the workshop portion of the meeting when that is completed. Yeah, put Chris's stuff there.
These are done. Everyone has
Is this one the folder?
No, gotta get the rest of it.
It's
Oh,
here. It's here. The
And
orange.
we'll
It's
come right back.
orange.
It's the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. It all goes in the orange folder because there's
So
three.
if you want to keep those over there, because there's still three, I'll bring it right back around. But this will
Okay.
be the next allotment.
I like that date.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what it means. Well, I like the number 5, so I guess that's. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to have it go that direction.
I want to make sure you all saw too, in the general fund, besides the normal street lighting, there's a JCAP grant fund voucher and an escrow voucher.
This is the abstract. It's to go with these.
Yeah, the printout there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that should go with it. The orange
It
one.
will.
Good evening, whoever just joined, just letting you know, the board is reviewing the audit of the monthly bills for August. The workshop meeting will be starting as soon as that portion of the meeting is completed.
Busy month for dogs.
Jill got caught up.
Oh, I see.
Some of those are several months old.
Oh, I see. I was like, wow, we haven't had this many.
No, she had gotten behind on her paperwork for several months.
Okay, well, that makes more sense.
And most of those, if you look at the vouchers, those are charges that we pay, but we are reimbursed.
Yeah, I saw
by
that.
the
The
owners of the
owner
dogs.
pays, yeah.
So it's only when we pick up a stray and if we have to do a vaccination on them or something that we end up paying the bill. Otherwise, if it's a dog that we identify the owner is paying any of the charges.
Can you identify roads on this one?
Roads. This is this is Clay Hill. And then that's it. Yeah. I apologize. I thought I was printing in color and I didn't, but I didn't want to run it again. I apparently printed it in grayscale, which I had checked and didn't realize I had checked it from a previous. So I'm going to put it up on the screen as well.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
that's a continuation of what Warsing already adopted.
yeah. That's why I asked for the roads.
Yep. And all this is it designates it as a critical environmental area. And what that means is if something is being reviewed by the planning board from that area, it just means under seeker, they give it the environmental aspects of it a little closer look. And the documentation that comes with it, the paper, the page that went with that one, what it was. That's the one.
No, that's not one. This is one.
Yeah, this describes why it's. Hey, that's all set up right there. That'd be. So you can just, for attendance, Councilman Hewitt arrived 6:13. Thank you.
Hi, Chris. Ooh, this is pretty.
That nice?
Yeah,
Did you see your own folder there?
Yeah. Nice also.
Which one is this going?
That was, it's on the, with the prepaids just loose on the top, on that
Either
side.
there or put it right on top of the first voucher.
Yeah.
Either one. It's just a check off for me of what the vouchers are.
you know what order they're in?
If you can take the tape, you can make. them.
Oh, yeah, I could, okay, cool.
And she would really appreciate it if you come back. for that.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
send them to you face down.
Yeah.
okay.
I think if she runs the checks, has, so she
Okay.
can go.
This
with
would
them.
be the first one.
I'll give this to you. Should I wait to give it to the food pantry? So, it's the Meg donation.
Right, you want to donate to the food pantry? I can take care of that.
Keep passing by and they're closed. Okay. Is it new fire?
Doing great. Doing great. I almost can. I'm just seeing if I turn my computer, if I can get all of you in. this thing. Not quite. Tables are just a little too long. They were 6 foot instead of 8 foot. we'd be
That's
okay.
okay. And we don't-
Oh, yeah, no mask necessary.
Every place is so colorful. Mine is just plain old paper.
I just
No.
got my hero mask.
You got
No
your
mask
finger on?
necessary. This is strange for me. This is the first time I've had my mask off indoors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's up to
Either-
you if you like. I mean,
Yeah.
we're 6 feet apart, so we are okay. It's up to you if you feel comfortable.
Oh,
wearing
I'm
it.
just saying it's weird.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like when I've watched like TV shows and no one's wearing masks and I'm like,
Ah, and they hug?
Yeah, and they.
Yeah.
I had my son over 2 weeks in the dining room. So I had the big table.
Chris, just so everybody is reminded, the microphone is there now.
Thank
Yeah, I know.
We did a test of it. It works great.
Cool.
And we are broadcasting because we're in session, even though we're just paying the bills right now.
Great.
So not just, but we're paying the bills. So there's not a lot of activity.
Thank you.
Almost had you in, Aaron.
I'm the only board member not on the
I
movie.
know.
I'm feeling a little picked on.
You came around the corner, but then we'd have the back. of
I
your
can
head.
sit in the middle of the table.
Yes.
Don't worry. I'll just have to, we'll have to say, the board member you can't see.
I've been.
Well, I'm gonna
monster
put the
for all
agenda
this
up once
time.
we-
I was in witness protection all that.
Yeah.
time.
It's true. So lost.
The Dave's meeting, I finally got the light.
Oh, the red lighting.
Yeah, the post,
I wonder if I move this back.
There it is.
He's trying.
Now you're, now we've only got 2 people in.
That's okay. I don't mind.
Not quite. Worth a try.
Yeah, I looked into, Mike asked me to look into cameras also, but it's tricky to have the external mic and an external camera because all the cameras have mics in them. So we need to spend a lot more money if we want to have it.
We'd be talking thousands as opposed to this microphone was
Yeah.
200 as opposed to thousands.
Yeah, it's about $1,500 for the least expensive recommended setup that would film us and get all of our. So
So it means a longer cord.
Yeah, except it's a specialized cord.
they
There is
cost
an
about
ex-
$800.
There's an extension you can buy for this one, but it's not just the standard USB. It's got to be a specific type of cable.
I think it's
Halfway
copper.
through the meeting, which.
Yeah, we'll just switch seats.
There you go.
That's,
Ring the bell and we all know.
With musical chairs.
sure, why not? Gives you a chance to stretch your leg.
Mhm. You done, Adam? You both done?
Yes, sir.
You did this?
They came early.
We were here.
I have a big stack of you when you're ready.
All right, cool.
Patty,
I am.
she gave me in her head. I can wash the eyes and you wouldn't know. The only ones I do that, we are the ones.
And Chris, so you're aware, there were 3 late charges on the 3 credit card accounts.
Okay.
I'm paying them for the moment. I'm gonna try to, we were a day late, partially because our meeting was on the 30th. And partially because the postal service seemed to have taken almost 12 days to get our mail to them.
Wow. So you're gonna try and waive it?
So I'm gonna try to see if they'll waive it, but I don't know if they will, because when we first got the credit card, we were late once and they waived it and said they wouldn't waive it again for a period of time. So we'll try.
Maybe the COVID excuse.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But I think just learning everything.
But if we don't, we learned our lesson the last time by not paying it, then we got hit with another late charge, which they did also take off. But I don't want to run that risk.
Yeah.
Just roll. But you can make mistakes. Which.
Wait, being on TV?
She's hiding behind me, that's okay.
But you look so cute.
Hey, all right.
So,
No, I'm by my house.
We used to, I worked at the department store, we didn't have a lot of transactions. And we're closed at 9 o'clock unless the customer stays on. Nobody was allowed to leave until the customer left. And then we cash out. But if a mistake gets made, then everybody would have to wait.
Okay.
Every
No
once in a
problem.
while, we'd be botching up the registry page and everybody was.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's okay, because we're gonna open in 2 weeks. Yeah, so we can wait. And I'll bring the planner tomorrow. Okay, cool. I'll see you tonight. Thank you. Bye.
If it was off by a penny, everybody had to wait, and whoever messed it up, everybody would be right on. Need a lot of eyes on these.
every time. you know,
Nothing, B.
Nothing.
You guys are too. Oh, this one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Apparently, we all missed one last time.
Last month, we all missed 50 cents, including Shirley. We did the bill was something in 50 cents and we made the check out to the even dollar amount. We all missed the 50 cents. Every one of us. And then we got it was the state court. She called us and said, "You realize you owe 50 cents?" And she said, "We're not going to bill for it, but on your next bill, add 50 cents."
I will tell you that that's why they put the races in places. Just forgive me.
Mhm.
That's pretty good though. What's that, 50 cents so far this year we've been on?
Yeah.
It's over $1 million.
That one went through 6 sets of eyes. Yeah, we all missed it.
That's what I said.
We're human.
That's exactly what I said. That's why they put erasers on pencils.
Didn't get through the bank size though, that is, see?
That wasn't the bank. That was the
Court.
court clerk in Albany who we send the check to.
Yep.
When she posted it, she noticed because it pointed out there was a discrepancy. I'm sure the computer pointed it out to her.
Listen, many people can't even make change.
A friend of mine posted on Facebook, she was in PetSmart, she lives in Florida, and the power went out, and so the clerks were having to do transactions with the old credit card swiper things,
Yes.
the carbon copies,
Yeah,
because the supervisor, I guess, decided they would stay open.
That's pretty cool.
I never had the.
I don't think,
privilege of
maybe
doing
it wasn't the power went out, maybe it was something with the internet, I don't know exactly, but none of the clerks knew how to use one, so she was teaching the clerks how to use one.
I remember being in retail in the late 80s and early 90s and running that, then you'd have to call up the credit card processing company.
To authorize.
Yes.
Go and get the authorization number, and then if it got declined, you had to look the person straight in the face, and they tell you, and every once in a while, they tell you, take the card.
Yeah.
They tell you, grab that card. I'm not grab that card.
Yeah,
We
right.
had to do,
Get the
yeah,
$4.25 an
it
hour.
was, I mean, I was in retail in the early aughts, and it was the same way, because you'd run the card, but then at the end of the night was when you actually ran it, and sometimes it'd come back and decline.
Oh, somebody that already been run.
Yeah, because they didn't actually batch out until the end of the night. I remember that was always my worst nightmare when that happened.
I never used one of those machines. I never had
Is it too young?
one. Thank you. Thank you. No, we didn't. When did credit cards like that come?
It was
into
in the
being? I
80s.
don't know. 80s?
That was it.
My
Yeah.
uncle had them in his restaurant.
And then, yeah, we had one, I worked at Banana Republic when I was in college, and if there was an issue or too many cashiers were working, you had to use one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Like Banana Republic. The only thing that fits me there though is the cologne.
That's one size fits all if you like.
There.
So the 3 of you have signed, right?
Yes.
You want to do what we did last month, Chris? You want
Sure.
to just continue and we'll start the meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So at, time is
Got you
6:27. We will call the workshop portion of the meeting to order. Would people please, the board please stand for the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ask the deputy town clerk to do the roll call, please.
Councilwoman Anowen,
Here?
Councilwoman Halvin Pugh. Here. Councilman Hewitt,
Here.
Councilman Paddock,
Here.
Supervisor Bacon.
Here. Okay, the first order of business on the agenda is a resolution. These are 2020 budget modifications for as of the end of July. If the board would like, I can walk you through them. I can put them up on the screen. or you, I emailed everybody them. Did anybody have any questions, or would you like me to put them on the screen? They balance out in both the highway and the general fund to zero, so it's just moving money from one fund to a different fund to resolve. And I can put them up on the screen if you'd like.
No, thanks.
Okay, if that's the case, then I would ask for recommended motion upon recommendation of the town supervisor. Town board authorizes modification of the 2020 general fund and highway fund budgets as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
A second.
motion by Councilwoman Anowen, second by Councilman Paddock. We should probably do a roll call vote just because the public is not viewing us individually. So
If we put that on the screen, does the public see it? Mike, I'm sorry, I'm not.
the screen share, yes.
What, then maybe we should, so the public can see.
Okay, we can
Just
do
a
that.
thought.
Yep, I'm happy to do that. So this is the general fund. The yellow columns are the ones where we made the budget changes this month. In the court fund, we have added $200 for supplies and materials, and we have removed an additional $200 to compensate for that from the prosecutor's line, which, since the court is not in session, the prosecutors have not been utilized. In the supervisor line, we have added $2,500 to the bookkeeper secretary for the supervisor. That is for the new appointment who is training to adjust for that. We have added $200 into office supplies, and I have removed $200 from education and conference. In the auditor, which is the bank reconciliation, we have added $1,500. That should get us through the rest of the year. Tax collector, actually, we didn't make any changes in tax collector this month. Assessor, we added $100 to public notices and advertising. Town clerk, we added $500 to the bank reconciliation. We took $300 out of postage, and we added, my apologies, I'm gonna have to correct this. I cut and pasted, and the second postage shouldn't be postage. Does the board want to wait till next meeting to vote on this? It's.
For the totals, you mean, Mike? or-
The totals are the correct, it's just in this spreadsheet, I cut and pasted postage twice, and it should be a different budget line that I added 600 to, or 200 to.
Do you know what line? it is?
I don't know off the top of my head, and it would take a little while to figure it out, but we can hold this motion till next week, Tuesday, if you'd like, and my
Table it.
apologies for that.
Sure.
It's just an error on my part in creating this spreadsheet.
Okay.
So with that being said, we will table the motion
Okay.
and reconsideration on Tuesday. Next resolution item is the shared work program. We are, as you know, we're doing the shared work program for 6 of our employees. So the resolution is the town board authorizes the supervisor to extend the shared work program until September 26, 2020 as follows. Court clerks will work at X percentage reduction of weekly hours. We will need to fill that in before we vote. Recreation assessor's aide will work at X percentage reduction of weekly hours. Currently, the court clerks are working at a 50% reduction. The recreation assessor's aide are working at a 60% reduction. They are working 40% of the time, and the court clerks are working 50%. In polling their various department heads, we heard back from one justice who said that they would like the court clerks to go back to full-time. The other justice did not reply to the email.
And or a phone call at this point.
The assessor, he is dealing with a family health issue and is going to be having to take probably 5 of his 20 hours a week off. He's using his own time in the next couple months. He was recommending that we go to, currently the assessor's aid is at 14 hours. He was recommending that we go to potentially 28, which would mean a 20% reduction. I would maybe recommend, no, I'm sorry, he was recommending to 21. I would recommend that we go potentially to 17.5, which would be 3.5 hours a day. He will be in the afternoons. That would just leave the office uncovered for a half an hour. It wouldn't be uncovered that long a time frame. The reason I'm saying that is the recreation department has some additional work, but I don't think that they have enough to go to the same percentage as the assessor's aid. And because they're grouped together, we have to treat them the same, or we have to remove the recreation aid out of that and put her back at full time. So my recommendation would be that we take the court clerks to 75%, which would be 21 hours instead of 28, that we compromise from where we are now, and that we take the recreation assessor's aid to 50%. And that would be for the month of September, and then we can reevaluate. We also, if it becomes necessary, it's on a week-by-week basis. We can change at any time within the month. We've just been doing it a month-by-month basis for us. The additional $600 from the federal government is no longer being given that since August 1st. However, they did get the additional $600 for a period of time. So if you'd averaged it out, they probably would be about equal to their full pay. They will be making slightly less than their normal full pay at this point.
The 400 never passed. That was
The
signed,
federal
correct?
Congress never did anything.
Okay,
So,
I just wanted to be clear on that.
so
So we're
does the
going,
board want to do a motion on this, or you want to have discussion? I apologize. We kind of had discussion first, but it was hard to do a motion
so
until
the
we knew
court
the
clerks are
numbers.
going from 14 to 21
14 to 21,
and
and the recreation assessor's aid, it varies. The recreation director would be at 17.5. The 2 assistant recreation directors will be at 10 hours a week, and the assessor's aid would be at 17.5. Mike Dunham, the assessor, his feeling was that when school tax bills come out, we may start getting more calls. The assessor's office in general, from the town's perspective, this is a quieter time of year. It does pick up as the fall goes on, but this time of year he said we do start fielding calls questioning assessed values because the school taxes are based on the July assessment of the properties this past July.
So he was asking for 21
He was
hours,
asking for
which would have been like
21.
55%.
Which,
Or-
well,
or
it actually would have
It's
been.
out of 35 hours.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a weird percentage.
Right.
And I think we have to either do it in 5s or 10%. I don't think we can do a number of hours.
That would have been 60%. Yeah,
21.
21 would have been 60.
but we have to figure recreation
but-
and assessor together.
Yeah.
Yes, 21 would have been 60%.
Yeah.
Correct.
But then the other offices would be at 60%, so that would raise those too.
Yeah, I mean, that would mean 12 hours. It would only mean 2 more hours for the 2 assistant recreation directors, and it would mean 3.5 for the recreation director. I mean, if the board wants to go to the 60%, I'm okay with that.
I mean, I just, if
And
I
he
want,
is going to be missing some time.
right, I want to
Yeah.
listen to the assessor saying that he needs that and
Mhm.
balance it with the cost, but if it's not, if it's only like
It's
4
not a
extra
huge
hours.
cost for us. It's not
Yeah.
a big difference. We just don't have the work to bring them back full-time yet.
Right.
Otherwise, I would say it's not even a question. Because I am going to bring to you something else that was not on the agenda from the Recreation Department, a proposal that they would like to start doing some of the senior exercise classes outdoors. And Ashley and I discussed it pretty thoroughly. So, but that'll be after this. So, okay.
I like 75, 60.
Okay.
How other people
So do you want to make that motion then, Aaron? So
Sure.
the motion will be, town board authorizes the supervisor to extend the shared work program until September 26, 2020 as follows. Court clerks will work at 75% reduction of weekly hours. Recreation assessor's aide will work at 60% reduction of weekly hours. And this will be starting as of August 30, what is Sunday, August 30th.
Can we put the definition of the actual hours in to that motion?
Sure. So
For
the
the
court
bookkeeper.
clerks will work 21 hours a week. The recreation director will work 21 hours a week. The assessor's aide will work 21 hours a week, and the 2 assistant recreation directors will work 12 hours a week. So do you make that motion, Aaron?
Yes, I mean.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Councilwoman Allen, second by Councilman Paddock.
No,
I think, did you make the motion?
made the motion. Chris had the second.
Oh,
That's
I'm
all
sorry. I said Councilman Paddock. Councilman Hewitt, excuse me. I'm looking at Adam and saying Adam. So motion by Councilwoman Allen, second by Councilman Hewitt. We'll do a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Allen,
Aye.
Councilwoman Halvin Depew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Supervisor Brady.
Aye. Okay, moving on to the next discussion items on the agenda. First, I wanted to have a discussion with everybody. We have received 2 interested people for the ECC and 1 interested person for the HPC. The HPC person actually had contacted me right after the COVID hit, and their email got lost in my email box, never to be seen again. And she reminded me recently. We oftentimes have interviewed these people. We have openings in both boards. The HPC is, what's Wilton's wife's?
Joan.
Joan. What's her last name? Is it Duckworth or? Okay.
No, it's Joan Ewing.
Oh, Ewing,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
not done.
So Joan is applying for the HPC. And the ECC is Michaela. Do you know Michaela's, do you remember Michaela's last name? She's been volunteering with the ECC. I sent you all her email and her
She's
her
working on
resume.
4455.
Yes. I can't remember her last name.
Me neither.
I should have written it down. And then the other one is also another gentleman who's been attending their meetings regularly and actually did one of the third Thursday presentations. I'm going to put these on the agenda for next month or next week for us to vote on if the board is okay with not doing interviews. There are openings in the position in both boards. I think there's not really, all 3 people have been involved for a number of months already, and they've shown themselves that they're being active members of the group without being official members.
It's Michaela Sherman.
Michaela Sherman. And do you remember the other gentleman's name?
Mark Dietrich.
Mark Diedrich. Thank you. So those 3 have been involved for quite some time. I think we can probably forego the interview process.
Do we have 2 openings on the ECC?
Yes.
Okay.
I met them both and they're
Yeah.
both productive.
I will bring a formal resolution to the regular meeting in September.
Do we have background on them?
I have,
Just so we stay
yep,
consistent.
I'll email it to you, so you all have it before you vote. I'll email it with the agendas.
We have Mark,
I think you already have Mark and Michaela. I think
I
I
think
forwarded
so,
those to
yeah.
you about a week ago.
But I just wanted.
You probably don't have Joan because that one just came on my radar this past week.
She's the
that
one I
she-
know.
she had applied and got lost in my email box.
It should all be consistent, that's all I'm
Yep.
aiming for is
Yep.
consistency.
Yeah, we have waived for the advisory boards, we have waived the interview
Oh.
process in the past if we think the person, if there's no bonus to the interview. So,
I mean, I don't see, we have to see them in person, but I'd like to have something.
yeah, Yep.
Jones, I know.
yep, okay, I will, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them on the agenda. I will send you their info. The next, Adam brought up to me the other day, we have an alternate member on the, I'm sorry, let me just get my agenda back up here on the screen. We also have alternate member on the ZBA. That we have 2 open positions. We sort of agreed that when we did nothing, took no action on that, that we would revisit that at some time. I'm not asking you to make a decision this second, but if you want to think about it, if the board would like, I will put that on the agenda for next week. You can certainly relay to me any thoughts or ideas you have about that between now and the meeting, if you'd like. But unless I hear any objections, I think he's been an active member, and I think it's time to move into that role. So that will still leave us an opening and an alternate.
I'm
So
wondering, should we, because there's, even after we fill the Historic Preservation Commission and the ECC, there's still seats on those.
there are,
And
and
then-
I was going to revisit it all and see where we stand in all the boards.
Yeah,
Normally, we do a call in November so we can talk to people.
yeah, I was just gonna
early next
suggest
year.
that we do a call because we're,
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll revisit it and we'll do a call in October.
yeah,
We'll do it a month earlier than usual to try to get people's interest and go from there.
And then their appointment goes forward at the organizational, is that correct?
We
Or-
could, I mean, we can do it whenever we
I
want,
know,
but it
I'm
could,
just thinking.
it could. It keeps it a lot cleaner with the appointment number of years. I mean, if we appoint these people tomorrow, I mean, at next week's meeting, I think I'm gonna do it 2 years plus the 3 months. We have that leeway. It's a 2-year position, but
Yeah. Otherwise it
it's a lot
Yeah.
easier to do everything as, the only one we have to do is September is the Board of Assessment Review, because that's by law.
right.
Their terms are September.
I would just really like I would like to see the zoning board of appeals.
And the planning board is missing an alternate as well.
Oh, really?
It hasn't been a problem, but they are missing an alternate
Yeah.
as well.
It's just important that we have full boards,
Yep.
I think.
Okay, building conditions RFP, just giving you a quick update. We received about 20 requests for the proposal. Received a number of questions and clarification comments back from people, which I answered this past Monday with a PDF document out to everybody. And we sent that to everybody who registered with us as having received the RFP. It also was put up on the New York State Contract Reporter, which is where we also advertised the original RFP. We've gotten some interest in some companies that are not just local companies, some out in central part of the state. But this is the kind of project that it's kind of a one-off for them to come visit. So certainly somebody coming from Syracuse, it's a doable thing. So we have a very good deal of interest. The RFP proposals are due on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And Kate and I will record them all. So when I see you at our Tuesday board meeting, I'll be handing you a stack of paperwork to go home and review. We did leave ourselves the option of having in-person interviews, which my guess is would have to be by Zoom. But if as you go through these, you determine that you want to speak to any of these companies directly, we put that possibility in this to have a question and answer session for us to interview companies. Usually in that case, it's the way, when we did that on the school board, we narrowed it down to a number like a top 5 or top 3. And then we invited them to make sort of oral presentations to us. If we don't do that, we would just do our normal numbering scoring like we did for the IT consultant.
Well, my question would be, we didn't do it for the IT.
Right.
So
We can.
Should we do it now?
It can be, you always have that option.
Yeah.
With the IT, we didn't do it because we just didn't put it in there. And maybe when you view the proposals, you'll say, we don't need to. You know, maybe the proposals will answer. We put it in as tentative, so we can choose not to do it. We can also choose to do it. But if we do it, we should do some sort of semblance of reviewing the scoring prior to having that meeting.
Oh,
So we don't just randomly pick
I mean, because
companies.
initially on the other, if we'd taken the 12, we would have been interviewing 12, 6 of which were
Right.
moot.
Right. So I just wanted to give you the update though on where that stood. Definitely a lot of interest. I'm going to jump ahead to the item that's not on the agenda is the recreation program. Ashley and Rita primarily deals with the seniors. Bethany deals more with the youth. And by the way, Bethany and Ashley have continued this YouTube series that is just amazing. The last one was on home canning.
I saw it.
And definitely really, really well done. Ashley's editing skill is, I keep telling her she's got another career. Rita came to me, and the seniors, now that it's getting cooler, would like to start doing the exercise program outside in the pavilion. She did write up a procedures proposal. Everybody would sign in. There would be a question form that they would be asked about traveling. You know, the questions, have you experienced any of these symptoms? I'm going to clarify whether they have to be masked or not when they're outside at social distancing. We're going to put X's on the pavement, on the pavilion cement 8 feet apart. And so what she's asking for is Tuesday, they would do their movement exercise program that they have traditionally done here, which does involve some additional equipment, smart bells, things like that. They would all be wiped down and sanitized prior to giving them to them. We will have hand sanitizer available there for everybody.
Did the town get a thermometer yet?
We did, and it's in the court right now. We were not planning on doing it for this unless the board felt the need to, because they will be outside and they will be greater than 6 feet apart. We will maintain a list of everybody who attended in case we ever have to do contact tracing. So and gyms have now been allowed to be opened up. And now that it's cooler, you know, we kind of started talking about this in September or in August, and everybody said, no, it's way too hot. Now they would like to. So Tuesday, they would do their movement class. Wednesday, we would go back to the line dancing classes. And Goldie is confident. She has been doing them at the Pine Ridge, where she also teaches line dancing. And she is able to do it with people still social distancing. And then Thursday, we would do the chair yoga, which is exactly what it sounds like, yoga while seated. They want to start doing this the week of the 14th. So it'll be the 15th, 16th, 17th, and we would continue it every week until it gets cooler. So I just wanted to get the board's opinion on whether we should move into that or not move into that. I don't really see a downside, and seniors are really kind of anxious to get.
There's a limited number. I mean, it's not like the kids get.
We're
together and doing
talking
something.
12 or
Yeah.
15 people normally.
Unfortunately.
I
Yeah,
think we should move forward with it.
Yes.
yeah. I don't think we actually need a vote on it. I just wanted to get I told Rita I'd like to get the board's feedback on it. I don't think there is any need to vote on it because it's just our normal program. It's just we're sort of moving back into
I
it.
think it's great, not just for the exercise, but for the mental health.
Yep. And Rita said they approached her on this, many of the seniors. They're like, now it's cooler, can we start again? So I think it's a great idea. So I'm gonna tell her to go ahead and move forward with it. Rita used to clock out and they paid her, but for the convenience sake, this will just be part of Rita's hours. She will make a little bit less money getting paid by us instead of by them, but she's fine with it. It makes it easier for her. So we're just gonna do it that way. The chair yoga and the line dancing are an outside instructor that we pay a fee to and in our vouchers, and we'll be doing
Well,
that.
people pay to come to it and. does it
No, they're
offset?
free.
No,
They're
they are
free. We've never
Okay.
charged for them.
That's cool.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, the
Line
line dancing, we
dancing
do
was the
charge
fee.
$2.
Yes.
We have never charged for the chair yoga because we actually never started the chair yoga. Does the board want to do a $2 charge for that to pay for the instructor, or do we want to do it for free?
I'm fine with $2.
That's what we're charging the line dancing. We'll keep it consistent.
Aaron?
It covers the cost of the instructor is what it does. The instructor is $25 or $30, and if you get 12 people, that's how we. But even if we don't have with the line dancing, she gets $30 a session, and even if we don't have the 15, we pay her the 30. But we normally collect the 30. It's normally about 15 people. So
We could say 2 per person. No one turned away.
fair enough.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that too.
Somebody want to make that resolution so we just have it in the record for the chair yoga?
And the line dancing, you want to do it for both?
Sure.
I'll make the motion that the recreation department open for Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the pavilion, include it all. And the fee of chair yoga and line dancing to be $2. The other program, the Tuesday program would be free.
Okay.
But that was using Chris's words as
No one turned away.
no one turned away,
Okay.
and that's the motion.
Okay. You
I'll
want a
second.
Okay. So motion by B, second by Aaron. Any discussion? All in favor? Actually, we should do a roll call vote, sorry.
Councilwoman Now,
Aye.
Councilwoman Patty LaPew,
Aye.
Councilman Hewitt,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Hi.
and Supervisor Baden.
Oh, your vote.
Aye. I'll look at it.
Okay, I'll just set it aside.
Okay. Next, I'd like us to have a conversation about the after-school program. As you probably have seen in the newspaper, the school is holding back from doing in-school, in-person school until October. Ashley and I have spoken pretty much at length and feel like there's no way we should even consider starting the after-school program prior to them starting school. And I think I would agree on that. Even after school starts, there's some challenges that we have that are unique in that while the students are in school, they're kept in what they're called pods. They're grouping them together in sort of, I don't know how they're doing the groups, but they're grouping them together. All that being said, because our after-school program involves 2 elementary schools, Cohasset and Marbletown, those 2 groups of students would never have contact with each other in school. We would run into a real problem bringing them into contact with each other here, potentially. I don't have a real resolution to it, other than if we went alternate days or something. We'll have to sort of work our way through it. Mary Lou, I've got your
Is that my
stuff.
stuff down there?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And we all decided that we were far enough apart that we were social distancing, so I'll leave it to be your call.
My stuff's here, this is where all this.
Yeah, so, it's more just feedback. Think about it. I don't really have a good solution. I know the after-school program is very valuable to many parents. I know we do a big service to them. I'm not sure how we are able to run it. People would have to still socially distance here. We would have to figure out how many children we could even get in this building at 6 feet apart. You can see right here, there's what, 7 of us, and we're taking up a quarter of the room easily. So, I mean, we're probably gonna be limited to 20 once we add in the supervisors and the staff, and so I don't know. I think maybe we just have to hold off on it. I don't know if any other town is considering starting after-school programs. I don't even know if any other town kind of does the after-school program style that we do.
The sports that my nephew does, he lives in Marbletown, they are not going forward with it.
Yeah,
They have opted not to go forward. And they did play football, and they did have cheerleaders and things like that they did, the little
yeah.
all the way up. And he's very sad, but they opted not
Yeah.
to.
Transportation would be an issue too, because the school has always been great to work with us to get the bus route that stops near here. They've always put the students who are coming here after school on that bus and they drop them all here.
I'd say, parents in the districts, and I'm sure all over, are facing the challenge right now, not only after school, but during school. What do you do with the kids, especially single parents, working parents, as that might be a relief. I think, the larger scope that local families are dealing with is, hey, listen, if mom and dad work, where do the kids go during the day? Teenage kids at home, trying to learn via computer. So like I said, I think I appreciate you guys, working hard at it, but at the same time, there's not a solution for the 8 hours during the day, let alone the 3 hours at night.
And point well taken. I will tell you, the county is looking into daycare possibilities for, the students who have, the parents who have challenges. At one point, a while ago, I got a call from the county planning director to just see if this building could even be available to the county. I said, we certainly would be willing to help out if possible, but there hasn't been any more contact or questioning after that. So I don't know where the county is headed on that. I'm not sure, really what their plans are, or if any more thought has gone into it.
I
So,
would think they would run into the same problems we would.
yeah, and every district, well, it seems like now, I don't think any district in Ulster County is starting. I could be wrong on that, but I believe I've seen that just about every district, if not all, in Ulster County are now starting with online until October. And I have my concerns and my doubts that once they do start in school, that we won't be right back to the online very soon.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's.
I
very
think right
sad,
now,
but
Yeah,
this is
I
we-
think it's very.
I think our best, and I keep saying, Ashley, I'm sorry, but I think we're in a wait and see mode. And I think that's where we have to be right now. I don't think we should be the groundbreakers, not that I don't want to be, but I just don't think it's safe to try to be the groundbreaker. And, it's a big problem to try to solve, but I think it's a bigger problem than just, like Adam said, bigger problem than just the 3 hours after school.
Right,
So,
agreed.
so I'll keep in touch with Ashley. We'll keep in touch with the county and the school district, and let you know I'll keep you in the loop of where it all goes. But, okay. Backing up on the agenda to item number 3. Becky is back full-time now. She is done having to quarantine from her vacation to Rhode Island, which Rhode Island came on the list while she was in Rhode Island. So she quarantined for 14 days when she got back just to be safe. She's back full-time. Brianna is still doing a few additional hours a week as she can. She's doing about 4 hours a week around her planning and zoning board. Becky, I've authorized her to work up to 40 hours instead of her usual 35, and she's filling in those extra 5 hours. We're still way behind. There is so much activity in that office, and it's even more compounded now that Will Farrell is, we have a part-time fire inspector, is now we have 2 people feeding Becky paperwork. Jerry and I talked, and Becky and I talked, like to propose that we fill a part-time 15-hour-a-week clerk position for the remainder of the year to be reevaluated in December, whether we want to continue it forward for next year or not. I mean, we could certainly talk about it at budget time. By then we'll have a clearer picture of where we're headed. I'm not asking for a vote tonight. I'll put it on the agenda Monday, or Tuesday, next week. But I wanted to just clue you in. They have a person in mind, someone who used to work with our summer recreation department, who is going to school at New Paltz. Somebody we know, I don't want to name names here in the meeting, but somebody we know, somebody who is very efficient, shown themselves to be very competent.
That's what I was just gonna ask. Are we gonna let them decide who they hire? That's good.
They have
Yeah,
recommended
because
this person.
Yeah,
As Jerry said to me, we have somebody in mind, and I asked him who. He told me. I would say personally, I agree. I'll put the name in the resolution. What I'll do is go, if the board is open to moving forward with this possibility, I'll reach back out to Jerry. We'll speak to the person, find out if they are indeed interested, but they said they could work it around their New Paltz school right now, going to the college. I think it's a win-win because it's somebody who's not looking for a full-time job, somebody who's looking for a
they know
part-time
that it
job.
could be gone.
They're already familiar with the building, they're familiar with the staff, and very quick to pick things up. So I would propose it at $14 an hour, just based on what we normally pay our full-time clerks, at starting at 16. Unless the board wanted to make it 15, $1 an hour. I don't think it's
The
gonna
only
be huge.
reason I wouldn't is because we're still paying the people at the landfill so much less.
Understood,
I'm sorry, but
understood, understood. With that, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk to Jerry, and I will put it on the agenda for next week for us to vote on.
Yeah, I think I support it 100%.
yeah,
And also Becky sent us all, Becky and Jerry sent the board
Yeah.
a letter about this.
Mhm.
And today, this afternoon, I don't know if you guys got it, but what she's also asking is that we keep her hours and Brianna's hours the same.
Correct.
So
Yeah,
that
because-
Brianna would keep working
Keep
with
doing the
them for
additional 3 or
up to
4
5.
hours a week as she
Right.
can, and Becky would
And
still
Becky
do
would
up to
still
40.
do 40, and she thinks that that plus
this
the,
extra.
that is needed.
She doesn't want to lose anything.
She doesn't wanna
gain
lose-
the person.
exactly.
She doesn't want to lose anything
Exactly.
else, and I think that's wise.
And as far as where the money is gonna come from for this, this is probably gonna cost us maybe $4,000 to $5,000 for the rest of the year. Probably about 5.
Permits must have gone up. at
Yeah,
least
we
that
were
much, exponentially.
in the month
more.
of July, I think it was, or maybe the month of June, we were probably $10,000 over in
I
our
was
normal
gonna say the
permit fees
revenue
And
alone.
think,
must
yeah,
have
and
come.
also think of what we're losing by being so far behind.
Yes.
There's stacks.
We're
of
getting
stuff.
swamped too with title searches,
Right.
with
Yeah.
title search companies reaching out because, and it's timely, and Becky takes it very seriously because it could make or break somebody buying a house or a
Right, yeah.
property if we don't get back to them quickly. So she takes it pretty seriously, but it takes a couple hours to do one. Now, She has said to me, she's reviewing though the fee schedule for next year for a number of these things. In her opinion, we don't charge enough.
Right.
The title search being one.
I agree.
I
So,
think
and-
that's
Haven't
true.
seen what other
Yeah,
towns.
and we
do.
have kept a lot of these things low for a lot of reasons, but I think it's time to relook at some of these.
Yeah,
And
with the volume,
yeah,
with the
Yeah.
volume and
So.
the timing.
okay, so I'm not hearing any to the contrary, so I'm
I
gonna go
think that you
ahead.
should work harder. Cowboy up and
She's always been a slacker, hasn't she?
always.
From an early age.
So moving on, the transfer station, we're gonna meet after this meeting. We're gonna have a meeting with Mary Lou. After I put it on the agenda, some other things transpired that involve a legal meeting with the town attorney, not an executive session, but a meeting with our council. And we will have that after this meeting. So we'll skip that agenda item. Comprehensive plan and land use committee referrals. There's 3 that we have received so far that we're working on. The comprehensive plan, we voted on that, and we circulated the notice for comment. We heard back from the ECC and the HPC so far that they were in support of it. The county planning board meets next Wednesday, so we will not be able to take action on anything. But what I'd like to do on Tuesday is ask you to schedule the public hearing for October for those additions to the comp plan, because by then we will have had all the comments back. We can always do further work or hold the public hearing open, but so my plan is on that to ask you to hold the public hearing in October.
Will we do this at the workshop meeting as opposed to the public?
We'll see what the comments are. I mean,
All right.
Tuesday, we'll just be setting the public hearing for October.
Right.
Um,
The reason I'm asking is the budgeting in process.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what the comments are that come back. It may be nothing. It may be no comments, in which case we'll hold the public hearing, and then we can decide if we're ready to move forward or not move forward. Just because we close a public hearing, we don't have to take action right away. Is there a time frame for town board, Mary Lou, like there is for planning?
No?
So we could close a public hearing and vote on it 2 months later if we wanted to.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking in terms of.
If we make any changes, if they're substantial enough, we'd have to reopen the public hearing, but it's adding 3 documents to the comp plan. Either we are gonna add them or we're not gonna add them. The only thing that we would possibly do is maybe that would be substantial is pull something out of it and say, we're gonna add these 2, but not this one. You know, that would be the only substantial thing that we would do. Otherwise, it's a pretty straightforward, it's a yes or no answer.
I was just trying to keep the October meetings
Yeah.
clean for budget.
Yep, understood. Critical environmental area, I wanted to walk you through it. I gave you 2 pieces of paperwork for each. I'm gonna put some maps up on the screen. I apologize. I tried to print the maps out and ended up with a mess. They printed in grayscale, not in color, and they're about impossible to view. So let me put these up on the screen. And I have to thank Mike Coleman, who did a lot of the mapping work for me on this. I asked him if he could do this, and about 2 hours later, he sent me something and said, "How's this? I can clean it up." And I was like, "No, you already knocked it out of the park." So,
I just need some landmarks, that's all.
Yep.
And I have some questions too.
okay, so this is for the same, for all of them. So we'll start with it's 2 areas. The 2 areas are the little purple one down on the left, and that is the CG which is the Catskill, Shawangum, Greenway connection. Well, Warsing has already adopted theirs as of November 19th, which is the bottom part of it. We have that little tiny piece. Then the other part is the Bly, which we have talked about as a very sensitive swampy area, substantial wetlands that really feed a lot of the water supply in that region. Very important. I did reach out to both Marbletown and Olive because the other side of the line is both Olive and Marbletown. I sent an email to the supervisors, letting them know that we were considering this. Told them I would be doing an official referral to them at some time, possibly, if we decide to move forward, but I just sort of wanted to put it on their radar, and I shared this mapping. So this is just an overview. Then moving to the next map, this shows the geographic boundaries. So the Vly one is, the orange is Olive, the pinkish reddish is Marbletown, and the yellow green at the bottom is Rochester. What Michael did is, for me, is he overlaid it over parcels, so you could see the parcels. And then if you look at the other area,
That's the one that confuses the heck out of me.
yep, the boundary is, and I want to give full disclosure, in doing this, I discovered that my property is in this. But it doesn't affect me in any way, and I don't have any issue.
Mine's not, and that's what I can't understand.
Because you're on the other side of Cherrytown. So the boundaries are,
Other side? You're all around me, but I'm not there.
no, your property would be, let me go to the screen, it'll be a lot easier. Your property is up here.
Right across. Oh, yeah.
Is that
So-
Sampsonville in the
So
middle?
this is Quiet Hill,
Yeah,
this is Sampsonville,
gotcha.
this is Cherrytown.
Okay.
So it's everything in that bound. You're
Okay.
past
You're
Cherrytown
this
on
close.
Sampsonville.
Two houses
Hits the
up.
rock.
This
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
No, Mrs. Collier's in that. Her piece is in that.
No, it's not.
Might be a different piece.
No, her piece, this is her piece right here. Now, she
Yeah.
may own a different piece on
It
the
may
other
be a
side of
different
it.
piece that you.
She may own something else somewhere else.
203 Sampsonville Road.
That's just the address of where the tax bill was mailed to.
Okay, but they're using the rest too. I get that. They're using the address off Sampsonville and the mailing for both. And then there's 190, which is the whole flat across from me.
I could, okay, so possibly the list that the list that he gave of property owners is potentially not accurate, and I have not gone through this.
It makes no sense.
Okay.
And Heather Gabriel's not in here either.
Right.
And I'm trying to
Then-
figure out how Mrs. Mrs. Collier can be when.
I will be, let me try to address that, but the map is,
Yeah,
Michael did this for me as sort of a,
yeah.
he took it one step further.
No, I can get. the
Because-
parcel number, too.
Mary Lou, I'm sure if we're gonna create this area, we have to notify each of these landowners that they're gonna be included in this area, correct? We would have to do a
Well, we
mailing.
have to have a hearing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think if we're
You
going to do
should.
it,
I don't
we
know
should,
that-
we should probably mail
I
them
don't
all,
know
let
that
them,
it's required,
personally let
but
them
it's
know
the
we'll be
right
here.
thing to do.
Yeah.
So with
So I
that
don't know
being
how
said,
we-
we could try to figure out which properties those are.
I can walk you to them.
Well, I know you can, but he labeled them here by,
And that's why I'm saying, because 165 is.
I understand.
67.
What I'm trying to say is for tonight's conversation,
Yeah, I get it.
don't look at this piece of paper, because it probably isn't accurate.
Okay.
Because I'm not asking you to do any votes tonight, I'm
No,
gonna
no,
ask
I
you
know.
next week,
But
and I'll try to figure it out.
If we're gonna use a reference, they are using the left-hand side up to a point, which
Okay.
I'm not understanding,
So
and
B,
then they switch to the.
This
right.
map here, which I will try to print out for everybody, shows all the property owners. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, wait, does Mrs. Collier, the property, does she own on the other side of Cherrytown where Mark Green is? Do you know at all?
Yes,
Okay, then that's what it is the piece on the other side of Cherry, no, not Alice's side of Cherrytown, but the other side of Cherrytown.
On the same side as Mark Green?
Yes.
No, she owns opposing
Okay.
to Mark Green.
Okay, so Michael took it a little too far. He identifies her here in the property. Somehow it must have, in overlaying the map,
It may.
in overlaying the map, it picked up her property as being part of this. We would have to define it a little bit better.
Because if Sun Spirit
Yeah,
Associates at 190, which is across from me,
but Sun Spirit Properties that is in it is the other Sun Spirit Properties that is actually behind me.
no, this one's at 190. This is the flats
Oh.
across from me.
Well,
That's what
then-
I'm saying. Something's.
Yeah, so for tonight, don't look at this paper.
Okay.
And I'll
I'm
resolve
not,
why.
because I've been trying to figure it out
Yeah.
all along.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's more the visual.
yeah, this is a good reference, though. It shows
Yeah.
what's,
Right.
I like it.
I'll get with Michael and try to figure out, because he whipped this off for me Saturday, and I haven't looked at it again since Saturday. Now, there were 3 parcels that for some reason the owners weren't coming up with. Like I noticed on this, there's a lot of overlap for some reason. A number of parcels are listed twice, and I don't know why.
Oh.
So what we'll do is we'll basically go back to the map and we'll go parcel by parcel and identify which parcel and which owner would be included
I
in
was gonna
this.
say it might be a 0.1 and a
Yeah.
0.2 parcel. or something.
So this page will change.
That's,
This is the bounding landowners supposedly. What's more important tonight is the text of why we're
Yes.
proposing this.
yes.
I wanted to introduce it to you so you all got a chance to look at it during the week. What I'd like to do is next week, schedule this for public hearing. This is not it's not a local law.
No, you.
It's just a map designation, right?
Yeah, and it's really to put that map in secret is
Okay.
really the purpose of it. So it's not a local law. You don't have to send it to the county. You don't
There
have
was
to.
a
I would
joint
like to.
meeting.
I was gonna say, now, Warsing, I don't know if they sent it to county, they sent it to their planning.
They
board,
did send it to the
Even though
county.
they didn't need to.
I would like
I
to
was
send
gonna
it to
say,
the
does the county
county,
look
and I
at
would like
these?
to send it to the local planning board for their
Yeah,
comments.
I don't think it hurts. You
Yeah.
certainly can do that.
There was a joint meeting at the fire hall in Cohonson several years ago about this.
Yeah.
Not about this. That joint meeting
Okay.
was about the brownfield opportunity area.
But it
Study.
touched on this as.
Oh, no, that joint meeting was, oh, you're right. That
Yeah,
joint meeting was
That
on
with
the
grant.
natural heritage plan for the
That was
grant.
With the grant,
Yes.
right.
Yes, and this came
And
out
this
of,
Is from that.
this came out of that plan,
Yes, it did.
yes.
Yep.
And Warsing did adopt theirs,
Yes,
and then, so the piece, this piece that we're looking at is the other little piece of it where it extends up into Rochester,
and the Vly.
yeah.
The Vly, I remember the Vly being mentioned.
This one, the road boundaries really are the sort of defining area of it, as opposed to the other one, which is more the physical swamp. This is viewed as kind of a gateway where the Shangums and the Catskills
Right there,
have an opportunity to
Colony
sort of
Farm.
meet.
Turkey Hill.
Not so much physically meet, but meet in that they can interconnect with each other for recreation purposes.
Yes.
It's really important to Warsing because it's the Colony Farm
That's
area.
correct.
And if they're able to designate that this way, it can potentially, if they can ever get it away from Department of Corrections, could make it a connector from the Gunks to the Catskills. And you already have on Rogues Harbor Road, the state has already acquired a lot of that land up in the Lundy Estate area. So,
Correct.
and then you have other preserved lands in the Gunks, and this would be the connection. Whitman Park also backs up to this area when they have substantial bike trails. It's from a recreational standpoint, and from what it wouldn't do is doesn't stop people from being able to do anything. It just means that if you are doing a project under seeker review, which we already have to do, there's a box that you check, is this a critical environmental area? Instead of checking no, when it's in there, you would check yes, and you would review it against the impacts of what's being done against what the critical environmental area's purpose is. And many times, it's not gonna impact anything. I mean, if a cement plant was gonna come in, then yeah, maybe. But if somebody wants to build a house or somebody wants to open a little store, it's not gonna affect.
Well, it depends if it's put in a deer run area and they're gonna get shot at.
True.
No, really, you know, they know that. You
So-
take the hunter safety courts for that reason. That was my thing. If they're gonna open it to wildlife, which was part of it in the beginning when the discussion started, then you're gonna limit what you're gonna put in that area, housing wise and development wise, I would think. If it's
Yeah,
kept natural.
yeah, we'll have to figure out why some of those crossed over. I see Mrs. Collier's name here, and I think that's a mistake. Based on where the label is, it's the property across the street, which wraps around everybody. It goes from Cherrytown and then bends back to,
Oh, I know exactly.
Samsonville,
She's on the right-hand side of
Yeah.
Cherrytown going up.
Alice is on it because Alice owns property on both sides of Cherrytown.
That's correct.
Yeah, she owns that little piece there.
She, I know, across from her house, it's an
Yeah.
acre.
Then looking at the Bly one,
Why I'm not so familiar.
it's, the roads. I kind of looked it up. I forgot what the roads are that are bounding it. It is,
Doug Road,
Doug Road, yeah,
Lang.
you know, B, I realize here, the address here, it does say Mailing Street. Oh, I
Yes.
see, the first column is the street
Yeah,
one,
that's
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it gave you both. That's why I was questioning.
yeah. I'll talk to Michael and we'll resolve that. There is a small subdivision that this involves, which is where, right in here, where all these roads are.
And I'll tell you, this address off Sundale Road, it's gotta be so close to Olive, you could throw a stone.
Yeah.
On the Bly, on the Bly.
Yep. And then it does have a small portion in, go back a page. Does have a,
Actually, there's two that must be awful close to Olive.
yeah. There's quite a bit, there's more Marbletown than Olive.
Yeah, but they're very close. I'm not sure which line.
Here, I'll show you here where it shows the parcels. There we go, this one. So, there you go, the orange is Olive
Okay.
and the red is Marbletown with the
That
pink.
makes sense. I'm not sure which these touch, but they're,
Yeah,
I think Sundale touches Olive.
yes. And we can overlay this when we do it, besides on parcels, we can add the streets into it so people see where the
Yeah,
streets
gosh,
are.
yeah.
We wouldn't put the neighbor, the property owners' names on it.
No.
That was more for informational for you
Right.
guys. And I will go through with Michael and verify the accuracy of this, but I'd like us to, at September's meeting, schedule this for public hearing also in October. And also do a referral to the county and the local planning board for this. I don't think there's no reason to refer it to ag and markets, is there?
No, you're getting more protection and.
Yeah, so. Okay, so that's critical environmental area. Short-term rentals. We got a recommendation of a local law from the code committee. Let me get that up on the screen, and there was a cover letter that I gave you both. What I'd like us to do is kind of work through it tonight. We'll see how it goes. A lot of this is based on the proposal that was made and the public hearing that was held by the town board in 2017. And they took no action on it, and it sort of stalled there.
We're looking at mostly definitions.
Well, I gave you a copy of the proposal. I'd like us to sort of walk through the whole thing, which starts on, it's the 26A, short-term rentals.
Yeah. A lot of this are definitions.
Some of it is,
Well,
yeah.
the first page, basically, and then the second a little after that, it's process.
Yeah.
So let me get it up on the screen so the public can see what we're talking about as well.
I'm guessing they downgraded some of the possibilities that would happen.
We did, so the basic, let me give you a quick overview. The basic premise is that short-term rentals would be defined in the zoning code. They would be addressed as residential uses. They wouldn't be commercial uses. They would be residential because they are residential in use. They would require a permit. And there's conditions in here about what leads up to whether you get the permit or not. The local law also covers the format of the permit, what is required to be answered on the permit form, and allows the town then to go in and inspect these. There would be a fee that would be associated that the town board would set, which could be amended as any other fee can be by us without changing the local law. So this is their proposal. This will be included in zoning, and that's the basic premise of it. So, so walking through this, the purpose is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to talk through it. If you have any questions or problems or anything, stop me, rather than me reading the whole
I'm
thing.
going to go to the conclusion of this. Do we have to hold another public hearing to put this in process?
We would have to hold a public
yeah,
hearing
this will
before
be a local law.
we could adopt it via local law.
Okay.
But what I'd like us to do is talk about it tonight.
Yeah.
If we come to any agreements, and Mary Lou has reviewed it, and she's gonna interject when she gets to areas that she has concerns
Oh, I
about.
have a lot of interjections.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's mostly,
Yeah. But I'd like us to walk through the whole thing together from top to bottom, so we just all understand the whole concept of it. So the purpose, I mean, I'm not gonna read it to you. Is everybody okay with the purpose? Okay. The authorization is pretty straightforward. Every local law has to authorize, we're authorizing the code enforcement officer to issue permits to operate these under the provisions of the law. Pretty straightforward. The zoning, we're saying they can be allowed in all districts except the I and the NR. The I is the industrial, the NR is the natural resources. We didn't think that they should be in those districts, more for the protection of the people that are coming to it than if somebody really wanted to operate one in those districts. I quite frankly don't think they'd get a lot of customers, but we decided to remove them. But they are accessory uses, which means it's an incidental use to the main use of the property, which is residential. So they don't need to get they don't need to go to the planning board. They don't need to go to the ZBA. They just go to Jerry. They prove they either have met the permit conditions or not met the permit conditions, and they either get their permit or they don't. So it's like a building permit. Definitions are important because if you haven't defined what it means, so they're in alphabetical order. That's the only reason they're in the order they are. So house rules, that would be, we're telling the owners what types of rules they have to have. We're not telling them what the rule has to be, but we're telling them the subjects they have to have house rules on.
okay, I'm gonna do my first
Yep.
interjection because I think that this is a little unwieldy.
Okay.
I think that we can simplify it.
Yep.
And these were my scribblings of a very tired person last night, so.
Are you going
I would
over
say
the house rules in L, or are you back at the
In
original?
the definition.
In definition.
Okay.
I would say a set of rules that applies to renters of short-term transient, of a short-term transient rental unit when at the short-term transient rental unit property.
So a set of rules that applies to short-term,
The rule that applies to renters of a short-term transient rental unit.
Wow.
I was gonna say, right, while,
STTRs.
yeah. Wow,
while occupying
occupying, okay,
the short, I would even just say the unit. I don't think you have to
Yeah.
write that whole thing out.
yeah.
That
We're
makes
using the
sense.
word short-term
Rental
transient
unit?
rental because that is the actual, it's a short-term rental. It's not Airbnb, that's a brand name.
Right,
There are other companies out there. And the transient, the committee felt it was important to include that word in there because it's less than 30 days. So more than 30 days, you're considered it's a rental.
Which is allowed.
So local manager, person specifically named on the application permit that's responsible for the day-to-day operation of short-term transient rental unit and who may be contacted day or night if there's a problem with the unit. The local manager may be either the owner or an agent of the owner. The local manager must reside within 30 miles of the town of Rochester Town Hall. We picked 30. It was arbitrary. We kind of kicked around what it should be. We sort of said an hour away.
Yeah,
And 30 seemed to be the magic number that we came up with.
And it was a change over Ulster County, I think.
We used to say you had to reside within Ulster County. No, it didn't, because we did say,
It
because
was
we're
like
so
an hour
close.
from, I don't remember.
I think we said an hour from Ulster County.
Yeah, and that
here
was,
we're
we
saying
felt
within
like,
30 miles.
yeah, that's what we.
And we
that's
used
what we-
town hall as the basis only because we had to use something and we figured for government, town hall is our basis.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there needs to be definitely.
draw a circle, 30-mile
radius.
radius around town hall and you got to live within that. Or have a
You
manager.
could be in Poughkeepsie, and still be the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if Poughkeepsie would get that far, but yeah.
Yeah.
We just want you to be able to, in an emergency problem, we don't want somebody from Brooklyn coming up or from Connecticut. We want somebody who can be there in an hour to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Because most of these, or many of these are non-resident owners.
Should we put that in there within an hour of the resident?
The 30 miles.
in
We
there.
picked the 30 on,
30 miles?
30, an hour is subjective
Yes,
because it depends on how you drive. 30 miles is very defined.
okay.
That's why we picked the
That's
30
better.
miles.
Yeah,
But I was telling you the rationale
Yeah.
behind the 30 miles is we all assume 30 miles is about an
driving
hour.
30 miles an hour on your back road.
Depends on how fast you drive to Brooklyn.
It also says in
Please.
part K4, a local agent shall be able to respond in person within 1 hour.
Okay,
And there's no period at the end of that.
yeah. We'll do that cleanup.
Sorry, Cole.
This was me taking Marin's notes and putting it in
Yeah.
formatting.
Okay.
Non-resident owners, present, pretty straightforward. Property owner that does not use the property as their primary address. So if you're living there and you leave for a month or for 3 weeks and you rent it out, you're a resident owner. If you're in, it's not your primary residence, you're a non-resident owner. Short-term transient rental unit application, the process by which an individual reads an initial short-term transient rental permit.
Where is that in, we have the definition, but where,
It's in a headline that says application.
right, but that
In
application
one.
talks about having to follow all the rules other than just this. I'm gonna comment on that too, but, yeah, we have something called application.
We have a headline that says application, and that's the process that you get.
Well,
apply
but
for
that's
the
not what
permit.
application says.
It says the process by which an individual
Right, but then
receives.
go look at application on the next page when you're saying what application is.
you have application process, application form.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
something totally different.
I'll be honest, Maren, I don't think we need the definition.
I don't think we do.
Maren
either.
thought
I
we
mean,
did.
yes.
I don't think it needs to
Application's
be
a
there.
pretty common word, and then we
Yeah.
have something called application process.
Right.
Yep.
Which
Okay,
tells you the process.
I'm just gonna take that definition out.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Thank you.
necessary. I would agree with you.
You're taking E out? Which one are you taking?
No,
Take,
short-term
short-term
transient
transient.
rental
On the first
unit
page.
Application.
application.
Should we also take out the renewal application one as well? Probably,
I
because
think,
we deal with renewal
I
of
was
the
gonna say,
application in the code
deal with
itself.
it in here. maybe what we do is we change the application process heading to application and renewal processes or something.
Okay,
And I think we.
I'm gonna take this out for now, and we'll move on.
Okay.
Short-term transient rental unit, this one is a big one. Rental or lease of any dwelling unit for a period of 30 days or less to one entity. Any,
Yeah, I get what you're doing here, but I think this is another one that's like too convoluted. I think
Okay.
it can be pared down.
this one, I think this is still the same language that I use from other codes, so if
Mhm.
you wanna pare it down, I'm fine with that, but,
Yeah, I would say something like the rental or lease of a dwelling unit for a period of 30 days or less to one entity, whether by an owner or a long-term lessee of the unit.
okay.
That's what you're looking at, right? So if I
Yep.
have a year's lease and I want to have a transient unit in one of my bedrooms, I don't have to be the owner, I can be the lessee, but I think it gets kind of like crazy if we,
So whether by, I think we do say though that you can't sublease, maybe we just say you can't sublease without the owner's permission.
Right,
So-
yeah,
I
you
was
have to
gonna
have
say,
owners'
right,
permission.
So whether by an owner or a long-term,
Leasing
lessee
of the
Lessee.
unit,
of the dwelling unit,
of the
or whatever
dwelling
we call it,
of
of the short-term transient rental unit,
The
or the property.
STR, okay.
Yeah,
And we're gonna take out the any dwelling unit. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, we're saying the same.
We're saying the same thing, but in a lot less words.
Yep,
And then keep in the motels, hotels, resorts, and bed and breakfasts are excluded.
yep.
Okay,
Sleeping room, and this is another important one. An interior room, I don't know why it has to be interior though. Actually, interior meaning within the dwelling unit.
Yeah.
right.
Other than a bedroom having at least one operable window and furnishings that may serve to afford sleep to a person. However, sleep shall not be the primary function of the room. Examples include a living room, family room, den, or great room furnished with a futon or convertible couch.
Can we put
Yep.
examples include but are not limited to?
Yep.
'Cause, you know, you
Your
might have a
favorite,
sewing room or something, or a music room,
Or a loft.
but are not
right,
limited
or a
to.
loft.
The reason being is these places become secondary sleeping rooms, and many of them in their use as a living room or something else may not have the proper egress for a bedroom. So we're, and maybe instead of saying having at least one operable window, maybe we should say have bedroom egress or
Right, maybe
Fulfill
we want to refer to
the
the,
code
in accordance with the state,
in accordance with
Building
New York
codes.
State Building Code,
building and fire.
bedroom,
Yeah.
ingress and egress. Because what New York State says is you have to have two means of access in a sleeping room
Okay, so we
in
have.
case of a fire.
So then wouldn't this code be
Defined, where do we-
duplicative of what the state is saying about rooms?
But this is not a bedroom. The state only talks about bedrooms.
Yeah,
So we're defining sleeping room. Jerry couldn't come in and say your living room has to have two means of access.
But if you're,
But if you're
if
gonna
you're,
rent
if
it-
you're
Yeah.
renting your living room as a place where people sleep,
Yeah.
then we want to be able to have the same code applying to that room that we do in bedrooms where people sleep. The reason why we have those things is because people are sleeping in them and need to get out quickly.
If you're, and this is gonna sound a little harsh, but if you choose to allow your family member to sleep in a basement apartment, basement room that doesn't have two means of access, that's your choice. But when our feeling is when you're opening your house to the public, it should have to meet the codes of public access.
okay, here's
So-
my next question.
Yep.
We have a definition of sleeping room. Do we use that anywhere else?
Yes,
Just once.
we do talk about sleeping rooms in the application process, I believe.
Okay, let me look again.
It's,
I could do a word search and find it, but
it's where we talk about the,
maximum occupancy.
yeah, the
Or
maximum.
sleeping rooms. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
It's like when you
Thank
rent
you.
a 3-bedroom at the Jersey Shore that sleeps 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just-
Because everybody always, you know, you got a two-bedroom, but it sleeps 12, because this room's got a spare bed in it, this room's got a couch in it, but they're not designated in your C of O as a bedroom.
Bedroom.
Now, when we say, talking about interior room,
Mhm.
what if someone has like an enclosed porch or a screened
think-
porch?
I
What
think
is
we
that?
go further somewhere and say that they can't use that, but I hear your
Okay.
point,
All right, so
and,
we'll see if
yeah,
we
yeah.
find that as we go
yeah.
along.
And we may have to find a better word than interior, but,
That would be an exterior.
Right, well, that's,
Yeah.
but is it if it's closed in, you know?
Yeah, it's still in the outside.
it's still considered an
Right.
exterior.
Well, yeah, the code, Jerry would make that determination.
Yeah,
Right, but if we can make things clearer to the
Right.
people reading the law.
yeah, but an enclosed porch is still considered,
Yeah, and I-
from the assessor standpoint too.
Right, but
it's a-
it may
it's-
not be the
yeah,
building, the assessors and the building
True.
code may
Yeah.
not be the same.
So we'll
It
change.
may be though.
We'll change the part about having at least one operable window and just reference building code for bedrooms. And I'll get that language.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to vote on this next meeting to decide for public hearing. I just wanted to do this process, get it cleaned up, get it back to you, and then take it the next step.
Yeah, and I
So-
think we want, before
When
we
the,
said for
when the
public
building
hearing, after
code
it's cleaned up,
talks
I
about
think we want
bedrooms, are they
Jerry
gonna
to
talk
look
about
at
a closet? Isn't that the real estate definition of a bedroom? Is that a building code definition as well?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
What's
What'd
the
you say
real
about a
estate
closet?
definition?
Like when you go to sell your house, you, a bedroom, by definition on the real estate, it says it's gotta have a closet.
Oh.
So I didn't know if that follows the same definition.
No,
I haven't looked into it.
we're just talking about for ingress and egress
Okay.
only.
Safety.
Safety.
Yeah.
So there's a section of building code for bedroom that talks about you must have a window or a door or some
Has to be a
some
certain
combination of the
size,
two.
yeah.
It's got to be a certain size. It can't be above so much high above the ground. I mean, it's very specific.
Okay.
So we can just reference the building code for ingress and egress.
Gotcha.
And then anything else involving a bedroom, which would be square footage and all that, we wouldn't touch. Just
Okay.
as just the safety aspect of it. So the application, all property owners desiring to rent a short-term transient rental basis must comply with the regulations of this local law. No,
Were we gonna put and renewal with that?
No,
That-
this
that
is
was going?
application
this
of
is
the
letter
law,
E,
Okay,
Yeah.
not, the
Yeah.
application.
application of the law,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think we should call this applicable laws.
okay.
I like that.
Yeah, because it's like,
yeah.
what's
So-
this got to do with an application?
Yeah, it's just the application of the law, so.
And if you looked at the definition we had before.
Yeah, it would have nothing to do with that.
So nothing in the local law shall alter, affect, or supersede any regulations or requirements of the town of Rochester zoning ordinance. I'm not sure why that's in there. Any regulations or requirements imposed by the county of Ulster or any state or federal regulations or requirements, and all property owners must continue to comply with such regulations or requirements. I guess that's to
No, I
say,
think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Somebody
it does.
Put it
has,
under laws.
they might
yeah.
need
yeah,
some zoning permit for something else on that
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
And by putting in your transient unit.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you don't have to follow the rest of our zoning.
Agreed. Yeah, now, once I
Yeah.
read the whole sentence, it actually made sense. All short-term I'm just gonna say STTR. Units shall obtain a valid permit from the code enforcement officer before operation. Fee, a non-refundable permit fee shall be established by resolution. It should say of the
Town
town
board
board.
resolution, yeah.
Which may be from time to time, which may be amended from time to time. So I don't need to say that by the town board for each short-term transit rental unit there, right?
I have a non-refundable permit fee shall be established by town board resolution and may be amended from time to time by the town board. But
For each short-term rental unit, it doesn't need to be there.
you know what? Just put a non-refundable permit fee shall be established by town board resolution.
And maybe amended from time to time by the town
Right,
board.
or you can set the fee in here and just say this fee may be amended from time to time. That's what we've done in the past.
I think we'd rather wait and
Yeah.
we'll set, because we
All
don't
right.
do
It
any.
just sounds
Yeah.
awkward to me.
Yeah, well, it
Right.
sounds similar to how we've always done before. I'm just gonna take the 40 short-term rental unit. That's
Yeah, that's,
extra language. And such permit fees shall be submitted with each new application and each annual renewal application. It just means
Mhm.
you gotta pay a fee, whether it's a initial or a renewal.
Yeah.
And we can decide if it's, each one comes with an inspection. So, and the fee is really to cover the cost of the inspection and the processing of the paperwork. So my feeling is it would be the same fee, but we can discuss that at a different time.
When a new business opens in town, do they pay a fee to open?
Yes, you have to pay a fee for, go through a site plan review or a special use permit or a building permit or,
Fire.
right,
Fire
if it's something,
inspection.
right, if it's something that,
because this is an
I owned a beauty
inspection.
parlor and I sold it and a new person came
Yeah.
in, they could do it, but they would still have to have fees that they pay for their fire inspections.
Initially,
Initially.
Depending on if they make,
and-
if they didn't make any changes to it, then no, they might not have to. Jerry might say the previous fire inspection
Right, but
carried
the
over.
next year or whatever.
But they have to be
it's
renewed
ongoing.
every year, every other year.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Depending on the size of
Depending
your
on what it
occupancy.
is,
and when they get renewed, do they pay an additional fee?
Yes.
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 The fee is, I don't know, the fee is for the inspection, to cover the cost of the inspection. So it's to cover the time and the paperwork process.
Can we find out how much that is by the next meeting?
Sure.
That we discuss this?
Sure.
The initial fee and then the recurring fee.
Well, the initial fee.
The
is
fire
gonna
inspection fee
differ.
is gonna be the same no matter what,
Right.
because see, the difference, Chris, is because this is a residential unit,
Mhm.
town has no ability to go into a residential unit and do an inspection. Once you get your C of O, or if you predate C of Os, which was in the mid-80s, 83, I think, is when they started, you never, ever have to have an inspection ever. But because, my feeling is because the public is now entering onto these properties, that there's an expectation of safety.
Yep.
That we can't guarantee any other way other than doing an inspection. My feeling is this fee is probably $50 to $100. I mean, we're not talking astronomical.
Nominal. And you can't charge a fee that is higher than what it actually costs us to do the review.
Right. Or do an unfair fee to Airbnb or short-term transit.
Any permit
It shouldn't be
you do
more
have
than
to
what we
be
charge.
set by
I would
state.
probably find out what our fire inspection fees are and mirror those fees, because that's really what this is.
Yeah.
It's a health and safety inspection.
Yeah, but you're not going out to the property to do the,
There was a weird thing that
The inspection
Maren
has to
wrote
do with fire.
about basing the fees per day.
Yeah, we didn't even, we got away from
that's
that.
crazy.
Thank you.
She tried to make that suggestion and I said, no, it's gonna be a nominal fee to just cover the cost of the inspection.
Right,
And-
that's all you can do.
And,
is cover
and the paperwork processing, yeah.
Also,
It's
there was,
basically gonna cover the inspector's time and Becky's time and whatever.
cool. I see that hers is a suggested letter, but there seemed to be ambiguity around putting it toward a conservation effort or just maybe toward the general fund.
In the letter?
No, that's the tax she's proposing.
Right, the tax.
Which
Yeah.
we're not discussing
We're
right
not
now.
discussing a tax right now. We're
That's
just
total,
talking
that
about-
can't pass in this law.
Maren would like to do, just like the county has imposed a bed tax
Mhm.
on short-term rentals, which they have determined that they legally can do because it's the same as other accommodations.
Yep.
Maren would like us to do a town tax. We would have to go to the state
I was gonna
to
say
get
that.
approval to do
Yeah,
that,
that's
to
something
start
we can
with.
just do.
Right.
The state assembly would have to take that up.
Yeah, it's a
and
very
the Senate.
complicated process.
We could add, what she's proposing is a percentage, essentially a tourist tax. Sometimes if you stay in a hotel, you'll see a county tax and you'll also see, in a city maybe, you'll see a
And-
city tax.
Yeah.
It would be the equivalent of that
And the
city
renter
tax.
would be the one paying that.
Right.
It-
That-
you
it
know,
would-
Some
it would be-
Airbnb sites, you see it actually.
Pass the fee along.
You see it when you're checking
It would
out.
be charged, to the renter, and then the rental unit would be required to accrue that and submit it to us quarterly or whatever we came up with.
And that's what she's talking about, putting
It's,
into like
it's,
a
it's a very
conservation
long-term
fund.
thing. She made that proposal. I don't know if the committee ever actually even voted on it.
We didn't vote on,
I
I
think we
think
agreed to let her put it in the
there was-
letter as a suggestion.
everyone thought it was an
It's not a
interesting
zoning.
idea,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
But
it's
it's not
not
zoning.
within the
it's a
purview of
suggestion to
the-
the town board. This fee that we're talking about is just strictly for the inspection.
I mean, last time we talked about the wayfinding or some kind of.
Yeah, the
build-up
money
of a
could be
fee.
used towards signage in the town, wayfinding signage. We could earmark it for whatever we wanted to earmark it toward.
Cool.
In the county, the bed tax supposedly goes to tourism.
Yeah.
I'll
Who
just
knows?
leave it at that. Goes to the general fund and there is a budget for tourism, so I guess technically it does.
Thank you.
Yep. Application forms is applications for a permit shall be available from the code enforcement office. Applicants must file a separate application, tender a separate application fee, and obtain a separate permit for each dwelling unit to be used as a short-term rental unit. So if
So do
you,
we have dwelling unit defined in our regular?
yes,
It is, right?
We do.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That's in our regular.
dwelling unit is standard because of single-family dwelling,
Right, it's in
two-family
our
dwelling.
usual. Good, I just
Yes.
wanted to make sure.
Yep.
All right.
So each dwelling unit. Application process. The initial permit application to operate a SDTR shall be submitted to the code enforcement officer along with the application fee prior to operation. And it must include the following: contact information, hosting platform information. The reason we're asking for this is we want to know, we want to be able to sort of track it a little bit. We're not going to go double check you because we're not charging you any fees for anything, but it gives us a little bit of more information.
If somebody says they have 50 people there, you can see how they're advertising.
Exactly.
Right.
If they're telling us it's a maximum 12 and we go on their website and
Or we
they're,
start getting
yeah,
complaints
and they're
or,
hosting saying, sleeps 25.
Yeah.
Now we got a problem. Fire and safety compliance. Applicant shall attach a true and complete copy of the current value of compliance issued by the code enforcement office to the application. Should we say if one exists? Because if you have a C of O, you have it, but if you don't have a C of O,
But can't we just check it? It's in
Yeah.
our town. It's,
yeah, I agree.
They're giving the application.
was
to
an
the
ad that
person who
I-
does the issues
It's
the-
gone.
Okay,
Becky can look it up.
yeah.
Okay.
We can say,
I don't even think we need to. It's part of the review is,
right, but we can say something like there cannot be any building code violations on the site.
that wouldn't be an application process though. We'd have to put that somewhere else.
Right, but that's, I think.
Let's hold
how
that.
we
I
do-
like that idea. And I think we may have put that in there.
Okay,
Parking, the number of off-street parking spaces, and we do define that, shall be indicated on the application. Off-street parking shall be provided to accommodate the occupancy of the structure. One parking space for each sleeping room in the dwelling, plus other parking as required in the town of Rochester zoning ordinance. Vehicles shall not be parked on front lawns. There should be no on-street parking allowed. No parking shall be allowed outside of the parking spots designated and detailed on the permit.
okay, here's.
We are going to allow people if they're parking, if they want to park behind the house, the side of the house, but we don't want them parking in front of the house.
So we say that you have to have one space for each sleeping unit, or sleeping room,
Mhm.
but in our sleeping room definition, we say that it's an interior room other than a bedroom.
oh, yeah. Yeah, good catch.
So it should say one parking space for each sleeping room and bedroom or bedroom.
Wouldn't it be each dwelling unit?
I think dwelling unit
No,
is
because you could have a dwelling
a,
unit that
its own
has
structure.
4 bedrooms in it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Well, see,
that's a good question, because sleeping room,
maybe it should say on-street parking shall be provided to accommodate the occupancy of the STTR, not structure, because they're going to tell us their occupancy level. Period. One parking space for each sleeping room and bedroom, plus other parking as may be required, or as required in the town of. So if it's a 4-bedroom, So if they're advertising 4 places for people to sleep, we want to have 4 cars, parking for 4.
But they're gonna say how many bedrooms and then how many it sleeps. They're not gonna say you can put 6 people in the living room and 4 out on the front porch and things
Right.
like that.
Right,
So they're gonna say, 3 bedrooms sleeps 20.
right.
Maybe we should
Well,
go to
so
what we
what
do
if
with the event spaces, and for every, 2 people, you need a parking spot. So if it sleeps 12, you need 6, or make it 3.
Well, what if somebody's, I mean,
A family of
let's,
4.
right, a family, something, or in my case, a family of 9 when my parents had us, we all went, we had 1 car.
Right, but
We're in that
Mary Lou,
3-seat stage
your
wagon.
example may not be every week.
But
No,
the
I know,
opposite,
but-
if it
but-
sleeps 12, you don't need 12 spaces.
But if somebody, someone may be intending to,
Well, that's why we're saying 1 for each unit, so that's maximum.
can we talk to Jerry about it? Because how many, let's say the person's using it just as their regular home, right? Which
We
many
require
they
2
are.
parking spaces.
Right, you only require 2. If they're renting out their whole home and it's still residential,
I think the
But
only,
it's not accommodating for the sleeping rooms.
right, but, I had.
So-
What if we
cars in
say
my driveway
bedroom?
At one point,
How
even
about-
though we only had to have parking for 2.
But again, you got people on an app just going, hey, I wanna go up to the Catskills
Yeah.
this weekend. This town of Rochester seems nice. Yeah, hey, everybody, let's all meet at this house, and you get
Yeah.
there.
Right,
there's
you
12
could have
there's
12 cars.
There's 12 cars coming for 2
And
parking.
that's why we want to do we want to have the ability to have maximum. If only 2 cars show up, then we'll use 2 spaces.
Mhm.
But if suddenly you got 8 cars and there's not only 2 spaces, the other 6 are then parking
Okay.
in the neighbor's
So-
yard or,
All right, so but that's a question then, is it
we have to think of
Because
parking
one-
from,
On the street.
for each room, if you need one room might have 6 people in it. It might be a loft or a bunk room or something.
and that's why I'm saying by room, not by people.
But also on the
Right, but
application,
that's what we're
do
saying
they
is if
define
you
the
do
amount
it
of
by room,
rooms that they're using?
you might
The amount
have
of
one room
people
with
it
6
accommodates.
people in it.
Oh,
Like
I'm
a
just saying
bunk
that they
room
have to
or-
show that if they did
I
have a
gotcha.
room, that it had egress.
I see what you're saying. Let's talk to Jerry and see how he
Yeah,
wants to do
let's
it.
see what.
I mean, I think we all understand what we're trying to accomplish,
Yeah,
but I
we-
just want to make
Yeah,
You
sure.
know,
we-
adequate amount of
Long-
parking, but what's that arbitrary number?
Right.
Right.
we can
yeah.
also have
Based
an,
on-
we can have an unintended consequence of discouraging transit. Because
Yeah.
if someone comes here on a bus and they don't have a car and they like to bike, then there's a book that I read called Asphalt Nation. We base all of our decisions on what cars can do. And Jane Holtz K calls it cararchitecture. So we built our whole
Yeah.
society around the car. What if we have transit-oriented development here and neighborhoods that are clustered?
All right.
Then do we need that many cars in our town?
We don't, but, and this isn't gonna be asphalt, these are parking areas that are gonna be gravel, they're still gonna be pervious, so.
To your point though, Chris, this is like why the mall has such a big parking lot.
Exactly.
It's only
It's for
for
Christmas.
the
Yeah.
end of the 4th quarter.
Exactly.
90% of the time, it's not gonna have it, but it
Right.
has to be able to be accommodated at maximum capacity.
Yeah, but we're not asking to pave it, and we're even saying these spaces can be in your backyard, it can be in your side yard. We don't care if you park on the lawn, we just don't want all the cars
Well,
parked.
that's why
in the
I
front.
go back to the event spaces where, we had people mow off dry areas to
Yeah.
accommodate for,
Yeah.
12.
I think it's more doable, I think we may be complicating it in our conversation more than it needs to be, only because
But at the same time.
you can create a parking space easily enough. You don't even have to, we're not even saying that you can't block somebody else in.
So I had
We just
one,
have to say you have to have adequate parking so your cars are off the street.
one
But you don't want 'em on your
suggestion,
septic tank either.
No.
right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, one suggestion, we could, if you're gonna run it by Jerry, we say sleeping room, and as Mary Lou
Like-
pointed out, that's wrong. But I wonder if instead of sleeping room, we just say bedroom, because then, and not say sleeping room, because then
How
we're
does
not
that incorporate
including
your idea?
the living
I got
room
it.
Mhm.
as.
Got it.
So if it's a
But I think we
2-bedroom
have
house.
to, because if it's a 2-bedroom house, but they're saying they're now gonna have 6 places where people may sleep. They may have 4 sleeping rooms and 2 bedrooms.
So Mike, how about this?
And then if they only have 2 parking spaces and 5 couples come,
Right.
Well, when you rent the house at the shore, they tell you this property accommodates 2 cars.
Yep.
You can have 10 people, but you can only have 2 cars.
That's
If
a
you have
good
a
point.
third one, you gotta go park it somewhere
Yeah,
else, or,
absolutely.
you know, figure out. how to
Okay,
come
so
down.
maybe we say you have to tell us how many parking spaces you're
Or in
gonna
the fi-
have,
During
and
the fire
nobody can
inspection,
park.
they
You can't
nominate
exceed
the
it.
max.
Yeah,
And that it should be posted on the hosting platform.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should be.
There you go.
And the house rules.
Yeah, yes.
So we don't have
Okay.
to come up with an arbitrary number, they
I'll-
determine.
I'll work on that. I like that idea, though.
I like that too,
Thanks.
because then it's up to the property owner if they feel like they.
But
need-
now it's becoming memorialized as part of their permit.
Right.
What were you saying, Aaron?
I was saying this, in this way, it's up to the property owner, because one thing that I felt uncomfortable with is making someone create like 8
More
parking
parking, yeah.
spaces at their house.
Yeah.
But this way, if a property owner is like, oh, I'm gonna want 8 parking spaces,
Mhm.
then they have,
Right,
then they can do that.
okay.
When I saw this lawn, I was like, no parking on the lawn. People come from downstate and park on my lawn all the time. In fact, someone parked on the septic. I'm like, why do you think that's acceptable? So now we have tall wildflowers on the septic, like this isn't parking. But I was like, that's gonna be impossible, but I like the front lawn idea.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
use my
we
front
specifically
yard
said
for
front lawn,
parking.
because what we
It's
don't
my
want to do is just to look like a used car lot.
Right.
You want to park behind the house, the side of the house,
Yeah,
have
that's
at
cool.
it. Maximum occupancy, we could treat the parking as the same way. So it says the maximum desired occupancy shall be indicated on the application. The code enforcement shall establish the maximum occupancy. What we're saying basically is he looks at your number and says whether it can be attained or not. So maybe that's the wrong way to say it.
Approves.
Approves the maximum occupancy?
Yeah, since they're stating the desired occupancy.
Well, maybe he does establish once he walks through, maybe you can't have 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Established is okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Establish.
yeah, so the maximum desired, yeah, and we can even underline desired, and then he establishes it. The code enforcement officer shall limit the number of occupants based on the number, size, configurations, and furnishings of the bedrooms and or sleeping rooms and per the provisions of state laws.
That's exactly that way.
So he gets to look at the code and the egress and ingress and say, you might want 12, but you can only have 8.
Mhm.
Or 3.
Unless you're gonna stack them like cordwood, I don't know.
Water and septic, the source of the domestic,
What's domestic?
I don't know.
Domestic water?
We should say the source of the water supply.
Yeah, thank you. It's like, we're getting fancy. Is it like Fiji
Who
water's important?
knows where that came from?
Saratoga water.
Shall be
is
stated
domestic.
on the
Yeah.
application and permit, the septic system shall be functioning, and the type, size, and location shall be stated on the application. New permit application shall require documentation from the Ulster County Health Department, a licensed engineer, or a New York State licensed home inspector indicating that the septic system has been inspected, is found to be currently working properly. Proof that the septic system has been pumped within the previous 3 years shall be provided.
Nice.
I have one question.
Yep.
I've heard from septic people that 3 years is not necessary because if it's a healthy system, it's longer.
Right. So is 5 better?
I think
Depends on the amount of people in the house.
Yeah.
It does. I
You
mean,
know,
we've got these
5 bedroom with 1
20
person.
Yeah.
We
20
kicked that around. I was okay with saying with this. I think the reason we did that is on the renewal, because that's only on the
That's
initial
only on the
application.
initial
Right.
application.
So on the renewal, and I think we did the renewal as every other year.
Yeah, or.
No, every year is the renewal.
Yeah.
But we decided that every 3 years, it probably should have been pumped. So you should tell us on the 4th year that it's been pumped.
You don't feel that's overstating? I mean, if you're a property owner and you don't pump your septic, you got bigger problems going on.
People don't know.
Well, but the
They
problem,
don't
the
know.
problem, Adam, is
You find out.
You find out, that's what I'm saying.
You do.
you're thinking of it from a residential standpoint.
Yeah.
These people are not going to realize when you suddenly increase your occupancy on a regular basis
Yeah.
from 2 or 4 people to 10 or 12, you probably now have to pump it every 3 years.
Right, but for some
Once you
people,
But-
they might,
But that's up to the
My
town
sister has
to
a
help them
cabin on
figure
her-
Well, the
No,
problem is.
It's an
You know,
It's
environmental
it's an
issue.
environmental issue because if you have septic problems, it usually affects your neighbor
Or the waters.
or the water supply. If your septic fails, that's the DEC will come in and shut you down in a second if you're a business and your septic fails because it's now running into the water supply.
Right.
Once you have septic problems, you will never have. it
We
again.
really kicked around the 3 years a long time and sort of settled in that number.
If
Um,
there's
do we have
another,
anybody at the health department we can call? and ask that question.
Or Johnny on the spot,
I could try.
Yeah,
because
Right, or
they would,
call-
Cliffy
they have
Bush used to
experience.
tell me
I
for
can
my
tell you
house was 7 years.
The last time I had my
That's gonna
septic,
say, I certainly don't remember.
the last time I had my septic pump, the guy said, I'm putting you in for an appointment 3 years from now. And that was his
And I can
exact
tell you-
words to me.
Like I said, we had 9 people in the house,
I'm
and I
saying,
don't think
yeah.
we did it every 3 years.
It also depends on the
You know,
size.
Daddy either, and back in the
Mhm.
day, they had the
The
whatever, the, not the pit.
Okay.
It wasn't quite that old, and not the outhouse either, although
Like a vault.
Yeah.
it was a metal container, a big
Oh, ours
metal
was
container.
You know, how about we leave it for now? We'll inquire around, see
There
if
were
it's,
5 of
see if
us,
it's
and I don't
doable.
remember
But
you
I
guys
think
pumping
that
that
the
up.
other part is of getting it certified at the start to make sure it's adequate for the number of people that are gonna stay
Yeah.
there. Because septic systems are designed by number of bedrooms and
Right.
only by
That's
number of
correct.
bedrooms. So when you add sleeping rooms, you may be doubling your occupancy
Right.
of what it's designed for.
Yep.
And that's our fear, is that they fail or overflow.
But you know,
And then, as we know, we say it runs downhill.
Mhm.
we're so
We're-
cautious to define septic. What about water? If you suddenly increase,
We don't have
never
the regulation,
define.
we don't have
Yeah.
the regulation over water. We don't
Yeah.
have, there is no regulation over water.
As far as
what's
usage,
gonna happen when that toilet doesn't flush because there's no water? We worry about it going out the
Then we don't have
septic.
to worry about the septic.
Exactly.
I know, but we
But
never
the-
worry about it on
I
the other
understand,
side.
but my point is, we have the ability to regulate septic
I know.
under health department.
I
Health
know.
department doesn't regulate water. People are amazed when I tell them, you're not required to have water in your house. Somebody called me the other day complaining that somebody did not have running water in a building they were living in, and I said, they can if they choose to.
Well, I
You
wish
also-
someone had told an old building inspector that, because my
Well-
brother lost a piece of property because he
Well,
was told he had to have
yeah.
a well and had to have water.
They were wrong. There's no
Yeah.
law that says you have to have water and septic. There's also no law that says you have to have electricity either. You can run with a generator if you want to. Another complaint I got recently, somebody's running a generator 24/7. I said, if they want to spend that kind of money,
oh yeah, it's loud.
I wouldn't
They
want
can.
that bill.
yeah.
I was just gonna say that you also don't have to have a septic system in order to have a short-term transient rental. It just has to be a system that would pass.
Right.
Health code.
You
They
could.
have an
You could
outhouse?
you could have a composting toilet, you could have an outhouse, as long as it meets health department regulations.
As long as it's limed and it's functioning.
And if somebody wanted
I
to
love
say
it.
that that was their septic system, they still have a septic system.
Right.
It's just not
Different form.
different form.
Mm.
But they've acknowledged it, and they're not just telling somebody to use the stream like one
Yes.
Airbnb
Oh my
rental
gosh.
that we had,
Yeah.
which was a cabin with no toiletries in it at all, and the guy told him to go use the stream
Hmm.
in his ad.
Amazing.
Which is like not what you're supposed to do ever
Ever.
at all.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
Um,
crazy, yeah.
Description, floor plan of each bedroom and sleeping room, including the dimensions, occupancy of each room, and the methods of ingress and egress. Doors and windows shall be included. The applicant shall submit a plat of the property showing approximate property boundaries and existing features, including buildings, structures, wells, septic, parking spaces, fire pits, driveways, streets, and neighboring buildings within 100 directly adjacent to the applicant's property. The reason we want to do this is we want to provide this to anybody who wants to come in and look and know where their house is in relation to the,
When we say 100.
basically,
feet,
we're asking a site plan.
Are we saying within 100 feet of the unit or
No,
100 feet
The applicant's
of the
property.
property? So if I own 100 acres and I have a house right in the middle, I have to show you where
Yeah,
people are.
Yeah,
but you know what? If you're coming in for a site plan, you have to. So
I know, Mary Lou, but
Oh.
still, what about the guy that lives?
there's always an opposite example. I mean, it's,
Hey, it's what you want to do.
yeah. I mean, if the public shoots it down, we can reconsider it, but it's basically, we're asking for a site plan.
I think.
But we're not saying it'd be drawn by an engineer. I mean, if you can sketch it out yourself somewhat if you can take a survey map, And show it on the survey map. That's fine.
That's what I was gonna bring up. There's a movement in the philanthropy world to make grants easier because they're seen as being mostly for white men who know how to apply for them well. And so foundations are making it easier to just fill out a form, create a budget easier. This I could do, no problem, this description. Certain people can't. So can we make it easier, maybe with an 8.5, 11 piece of paper and say, put where the people will be, put where your neighbor is, so that you don't have to be
Yeah.
schooled in maps and planning to be able to have a
Right,
rental.
and we say, yeah, well, we're asking for a site plan, but this isn't a site plan review. And I know
No,
you have
but
to
if,
have.
but if you're doing a building permit, you gotta show a
If
set of
you own
plans.
your property,
have to
don't
show
you
the
think in
houses
this
within
day and
100
age,
feet of
you know
your-
where you're
I
No,
also
but,
think-
no,
Yeah.
That's what
that's true.
I'm not talking about any of the things that you want to put on the property. I'm talking
Okay,
about
so how about we just,
the,
if we take out the neighboring buildings, then I'm okay with that, but we're still gonna identify the neighbors and notify them
Yeah,
ahead of time, because this is an
well,
impact.
there's my
Potentially,
question,
yeah.
and then what do you, well, we're not.
Well,
to that.
We're gonna
so-
get
We'll
to that.
But but
Right.
I for the description though, I think we can back it off a little bit, and I like your idea of making it easier. One of the things that we're hoping when we create something like this as a town board, what we're hoping is that the activity that's happening in the town becomes a more conscious thought for everyone. And one of the issues that we have, one of the complaints that is not a singular complaint, but it's simply that people are hosting people from out of town. They have no idea where they are, and they are roaming everywhere. And to force the application to say, this is, this is the property, I think it's really useful in
Except I
in
don't,
defining.
yeah, I don't know that making a map this out for Jerry carries over to the attendees. I like the part that we have coming up where in the house rules, you have to mark your boundaries, because we have a lot of trespass situations where people are walking in the woods, they don't have a clue that they just crossed over a property line onto somebody
I can
else's.
tell you a recent story.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow.
But
Yeah.
also don't
Same
some of,
idea, they got locked in.
Oh, yeah.
They
No,
had
I
to
know.
call the
Yeah.
state police
We
to
know,
get
I know
out.
all about
oh
it.
yeah,
I
we
know all
talked
about it.
about
Yep,
that.
yep.
Yeah,
There, real quick, there's an Airbnb that is allowing people to swim in their neighbor's pond, and the neighbors had a gate, which they, not knowing somebody was in the pond, closed and locked.
Oh.
And the people in the pond got stuck in there and called the state police and said, hey, we can't get out, we're locked in.
But I
But they
just
were
want,
trespassing in the process.
I just want to make sure the only thing we're taking out here is
I
that
think that's a.
We're only
different
taking
line.
out
the neighboring buildings.
and neighbor, yeah, everything
Yeah,
went from
everything
the-
else
everything
is-
after streets.
If you
So-
want to say neighboring buildings within 100 feet of the unit, I'm okay with that.
Is everybody else okay with that? Okay, so
So if you got somebody with a point.
Buildings within 100 feet.
Yeah,
and 6
and-
neighbors,
100
Right.
feet of the
Yeah.
dwelling unit, how's that?
Yeah.
I'm
That's
just
great.
thinking, I wouldn't want Barry to open his house to an Airbnb right on top of me. Because my driveway's here, there's a hedge, and then there's their driveway. And he's got 4 bedrooms in that house if he wanted to. It's rented now to a really wonderful couple. But if he wanted to open that to an Airbnb, that's 4 parking spots and 20 people right on top of me. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if we
That's
pass
an
this
invoice.
law,
You can, yeah.
No,
Well,
it's
then
not
that
an
anyway.
Well,
image
yeah.
issue. It's all over. What if you're in the development down by the school that's in the town of Rochester and somebody opens one down there?
But
They're
not,
right close
but
by.
not everyone is gonna be a bad neighbor.
Right.
You know,
No.
there are many that operate
Most of
that
them are
nobody even
wonderful.
knows they're there.
Oh, I know.
And some of them are right on top of their neighbors.
I'd say most.
Yeah,
And we're just being careful for the ones that don't. follow
Right.
the rules.
right.
But I understand.
I wouldn't
what you
stop
mean.
him, but I would certainly say, hey, you gotta understand that we're right close.
Yeah.
Agreed. I mean, we have to, in anything, you have to assume that the neighbor to neighbor relations.
Is gonna be okay.
Yeah,
You don't make the assumption they're gonna be bad, but
Right.
as these are changing, these are ever changing, people
but
coming and going.
the thing is, these are happening in the town right now. There's
With
no
no-
real
with
way
no-
for us to stop them.
At least now
So
we'll
Oh,
be-
I
what we're trying to do is manage them.
That's what I'm saying, to manage them, I mean,
I mean, unless we ban them outright.
Oh,
And quite
no,
frankly, if we
no.
were to do that, I think all 5 of us would be elected out on the next vote.
No, I wouldn't
And
do
not that that matters,
because
but
I
it's
think
just,
it brings in
it's a
income
tourist-
to the people.
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
does bring in money to people. It brings in additional money for people.
And local
Seniors
And the
who have
town.
larger units, brings people to the town.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
It's all good stuff, but it's, as it with anything, people can
But
abuse
that's
it.
why I
Yeah.
like the 100-foot
Yeah.
thing.
You can't really zone bad behavior.
Yeah, I mean, you could have bad neighbors with a,
Regular house.
and they live there all the time.
Yeah.
They're
Okay,
wishing they'd have an Airbnb.
Yeah, but they were
It
guests.
says plat, but twice it says plat instead of plan.
yeah, plat is actually the
Plat is
official
the-
word for the map,
Oh,
is a
cool.
plat,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
and that's taken straight out of subdivision.
Is it short for something?
I don't know.
No, we looked it up.
No, it's probably an archaic
It's probably
word.
an
but-
old
but
English
Plat
word.
is the word of the map itself.
Cool,
If you
thank
do have a survey map, what you really have is a plat.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
The first sentence of garbage removal says reuse and it's supposed to be refuse.
okay.
That one's pretty good.
Yep, the applicant shall indicate how garbage is removed from the property. The applicant is responsible for all refuse. Thank you. Spell check didn't pick that one up. And garbage removal, the applicant shall be responsible for either contracting with a refuse company or the owner of the property shall remove garbage on a weekly basis. If there is a dumpster located on the property, the location of the dumpster shall be depicted on the plat submitted with the application. We just want to know where it's going to be, so you're not putting it right next to your neighbor's house or garage.
in the summer, would you want to change the pickup amount? If you're having a lot of changeover and a lot of people?
You mean over weekly?
Yeah, bi-weekly for summer, because in the summer, garbage gets
Doesn't mean
pretty
it's,
bad.
well, it depends on what they're,
I think weekly seems
I think-
overbearing.
I think weekly,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think
quite
we don't
frankly.
want to be like,
Okay, I'm
Like
just
regular
saying.
basis.
I'll be honest, I go to the transfer station once a month.
Yeah.
I
So-
collect it in my garage and there's a lid on it, and when I take the lid off, I smell it a little bit, but otherwise,
What about on a
Can I
regular
have
basis?
Christina weigh in on this?
it's just me.
Well, how about a regular basis?
Yeah, we were figuring on a weekly, it would be,
Weekly is
it would
good
be
then.
after a week's worth of stays that there would, because face it, probably in most cases, and I know some people are very environmentally conscious, but in most cases, travelers probably are gonna make more garbage than a regular, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
But what
maybe-
if it's not rented every week?
Yeah, that's true.
So regular might be better.
When rented, weekly when rented.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, we don't, there's
Maybe
no
we
way
don't,
for us
maybe we don't
to.
even have to say, maybe we say the applicant is responsible for either contracting with a refuse company or removing it themselves.
Once again, this is the nice thing about capitalism. If you had a dirty house full of garbage, nobody's gonna rent it anyway.
I was gonna
So
say,
let this thing self-regulate
and you
itself
say
anyway.
weekly,
Okay,
I mean,
so
I like regular basis.
we'll just change weekly to regular.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I don't, yeah, we don't have to overanalyze it. We all understand the point of it. And if garbage is piling up, Jerry can cite him with another violation notice anyway. So making a dump.
On it, you want to say regular or appropriate? I like. Adam's-
Appropriate is problem because it's very, well, so is regular, so it's
So is regular.
subjective.
Yeah.
We can just say either contracting with a refuse company or the owner shall remove garbage.
I'm
We'll just end
also
there.
okay with it saying on a weekly basis, because
Yeah.
when they're not rented, there's no garbage to remove.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a
Also-
non-issue if there is no garbage.
There's,
right.
I doubt that anyone's gonna be inspecting.
Right.
Weekly.
Weekly.
Yeah.
I think we're just saying, like,
We're giving new duties.
We're asking you
Just
to
the
make
fire
sure you clean up
inspector.
after
You
yourself.
Make sure you're
Yeah, yeah.
checking the garbage.
But
too.
you're giving them something to give them a standard. to
Right.
hold to.
Okay, moving on. The applicant shall submit a copy of the house rules, and we go on detail about what the house rules should be.
Mhm.
We just want that submitted with the application, so we have it on file. That's the only reason we're not reviewing it. We have it on file. Jurisdiction, the property owner if the property owner does not reside within 30 miles of the town of Rochester, she must designate the local manager as an agent. Proof of short-term rental insurance or homeowner's insurance covering short-term
can we
acceptable.
change
town of
that
Rochester.
to they?
Yep.
Right, instead of he, she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, next one, Mary Lou, you can tell me if it's legal or not. I don't think it's
Well,
legal.
just think about it. If somebody's opening a restaurant or a a beauty parlor or a store. We don't tell them.
I'm in
"You're not
agreement
getting
with
a
you.
permit until you provide us with insurance. That's their risk.
Right,
Yes.
I'm in
Right.
agreement with you. I thought it was, I was the minority, but
And
I
I don't
didn't think it
know
was
what,
necessary.
I mean, acceptable to the town of Rochester. I don't know why.
Right.
No,
That
I
I
brought
can
this up
determine
once
what's
and I was
acceptable.
told it's the owner's business to have insurance. That's on them. That's what I was
Right,
told.
They're
at one
liable.
right.
point.
Okay.
So
Take
the
that
town
back.
attorney says no.
Right.
The attorney says no.
Right.
No.
It's up to the law. I understood the basis for it, but
Yeah,
I said
understood.
from the beginning, I don't think we legally
That's
can do this.
overreaching, I think.
And,
Also,
and
it's
what I
not
was told
zoning.
is, ask Mary
Right.
Lou.
You-
So we asked you and you
You're
answered.
telling them what they have to have.
Yeah.
If they're stupid
not
enough not to
zoning.
cover
It's not health and
themselves.
safety.
Right, because that's what
Yeah.
I have last night. What do you want this for?
It's not health and safety. Okay, upon receipt, the application, the code enforcement determined the application has complied with, you know what, I have not been scrolling along for the public. I don't know if anybody's watching, but. Let me at least catch up here.
There you are. You just passed it.
Thank you. Shall determine if the application has complied with all the requirements. If the applicant has fully complied, will issue the property owner a short-term transit rental permit. However, if an applicant is required to obtain any other permits required by the town of Rochester to rent or lease their dwelling unit on a short-term transit basis, then the court enforcement officer shall not issue the applicant until this, without sufficient proof that such other requirements imposed by the town of Rochester, County of Ulster, State of New York have been satisfied.
Can we
Yeah.
make that easier by,
Yep.
after saying,
You tell me how you want to, you get the
upon
purpose of it.
receipt of the application and fee, the code enforcement officer shall determine if applicant has complied with all the requirements of this local law, as well as any other applicable local, county, state, or federal requirements.
Okay,
Also, it's like the order that this is in makes it, we're also requiring an inspection, so
Right,
I feel like it's a little confusing.
yeah, I agree. It's kind of
maybe this
backwards.
3 should go later, then I'll make it later.
Oh,
I'll
I
make
like
its
that
own
idea.
section after the
Yeah,
inspection.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, but we,
And then you can take out
you take out everything else up to,
until no permit, you want to keep no permit shall be issued.
right, no permit shall be issued.
Well, actually, we're gonna move this later.
It still should be there, no permit should be
But
issued.
instead of there, again, you're saying, we'll issue you a permit, but we won't. So I think that instead of
Maybe I make it
that,
its own section, the no permit shall
no,
be issued.
not even that.
Okay.
In number 3, after we've put as well as other applicable local, county, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
right? And so long as code enforcement officer inspections have been completed and approved by the code enforcement officer. Yeah, that
Okay.
in there also.
Yep, and then it can stay there, right?
Now, then you still want to put it down later because inspections is later.
Okay,
It would just go before K.
yeah, we'll put it before the inspection, or after the
Before general
inspection.
permit
Yeah,
regulations.
Okay, moving on here.
Okay, so notice, we're gonna do notification.
We're only notifying them, we're not doing
I was
public
gonna
hearing,
say, we're not,
we're not
they
doing
don't
public
let
hearing.
us say, it's
No, no,
just-
no.
We're just sending notification so they have an awareness
So.
that this permit has been
notification permit
issued
request shall be sent to neighbors within 500 feet of the property.
upon permit
Yeah, I was gonna say, when do we wanna do
Upon
that? We wanna
permit-
make sure that's not before.
Approval.
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 Right,
Yeah.
upon approval, yeah, for
And that should-
information upon
so that should
approval.
go-
Oh,
wait,
so
that
take
should
out
go
the
later,
word
too.
request.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Notification of permit shall be sent to neighbors within 500 feet upon permit
Upon
approval.
approval,
And we'll make that be later as well.
right.
How is that sent out and who's paying for that?
Becky will send it out. Right now, the town's paying for it. We could make the permit fee, when we do the permit fee, we could make the permit fee be the cost of the inspection plus
Postage.
which we already, like in the planning board, if you have a public hearing, you get charged the actual cost of the postage. So when Becky is reviewing an application, she could do, the 500 feet is already what we use for the planning board. She could draw a circle of 500 feet and every landowner calculate what that cost is, and okay, your permit fee is
So
X for the
So
inspection
it would
and Y.
change based
one
on
of the
the neighbors.
reasons we charge though is don't we send everything out certified
No,
from the planning
no,
board?
we send regular mail.
And we charge for regular mail? We don't
Yes.
include that in their permit fee?
No.
Okay.
Because the reason we did that, Mary Lou, is everybody's different. Some
Oh,
people
no, I
have,
understand.
some
that.
people have 5 pieces of mail and some people have
And
100
some
pieces
people are
of
by a
mail.
reservoir and they
Yeah.
have, yeah.
So we stopped doing that, but we send it regular
Okay.
mail.
I
Okay,
don't think we talked about this in the ZRC, so are we notifying people when renewal permits are granted?
I think we said that only the initial to make them, because the purpose was to make them aware that this is gonna be happening to the property. The
Should you say
renewal,
then in
Initial.
notification of initial permit?
yep,
Yeah.
I want to ask a similar question to earlier. When a local business has to renew and get a fire inspection, do they have to tell all neighbors within 500?
no, they don't, but when they're doing a site plan or a special use for a new
Right.
use,
when it's approved for that use.
and this would be a new use,
They are.
this would be the equivalent, these people aren't having to go to the planning board. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, but all they're doing is applying for a permit, which is a much smaller fee than a whole site plan and review. And that goes out for public hearing to notify all the neighbors, to give them the ability to comment before you can get your permit. All we're doing is saying, hey, there's a new business in your neighborhood that you may not know about.
All right, so
That's
then
really
I
what
think
we're
the
doing.
renewal notice isn't necessary.
Right?
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
But I thought we should make it
Just the
clear.
initial.
Initial permit.
Just
So we
that
make
the
it clear that-
initial, when it's granted,
Now, when we first start this, everyone will do it. I mean, even if you've been operating a short-term
Yeah.
rental previously, you never need a permit.
It's all
So
initial.
initially, everybody will
Yeah.
have to do it. But moving forward, it's only new ones,
Thank you.
the renewals. Yeah, that would be my argument, is the neighbors are made aware in a different way.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then next, inspections. Each unit shall be inspected to determine compliance with New York State Fire Prevention Building Code. Inspections be done for the initial permitting and for each renewal. Proof that the septic system been pumped within the previous 3 years shall be provided. Proof of inspection in the form of certificate of compliance must be included with the application form. I don't think we need that because Jerry already has that, right?
Right, and we've already said the
Yeah.
water and septic in another section.
If it's
I
prior to
feel
80,
like there
is
was a
no-
reason why we included that because of something that Becky said. I'm trying to remember.
Once it's filed,
Okay,
I agree with Mary
Do
Lou.
you
I
mean
don't
the
think that we
septic or
need
do
to
you mean
prove.
the,
the inspection form of the certificate of compliance.
Yeah, because if it's earlier than 83, you're not.
Yeah,
certificate-
there isn't anything available.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? The certificate of compliance, maybe that was where she was talking about.
are they talking like an electrical inspection?
No, I
What are they
think
talking about?
I think now I remember Becky was talking about outstanding violations. So maybe before inspection, in the application process, we could say, no permits will be issued if there are any
Outstanding
outstanding building or town code violations.
Right, and also we should have something in there that after the permit is issued, if there are building,
On the renewal,
well, not even on the renewal.
yeah.
You know, you could not
Oh,
be fined in January and then have a
Oh.
big,
if there's a
Building
violation,
problem,
it
then
suspends your
then
permit.
it is revoked.
There you go.
Not, maybe suspends and not revokes it, suspends until it's complied with.
I
Totally
revoke it
revoked?
and then they can,
Okay,
we
can
can.
can you write that section up and just get me the language of how it
Yep,
should
it
be
can be
worded?
revoked. And the CEO can reinstate
Okay,
upon.
so it's revoked, not just suspended, it's revoked, but
Correction.
Jerry can reinstate it once you clear up
Right.
the problem
Yep,
at no cost.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, because they've already paid for it.
okay, that's fair enough. because he can do that to any business,
Right.
essentially. He
Yeah,
can shut you
you
down,
can-
so.
Give them a,
Yeah.
So then you're not arbitrary.
Yeah.
You're-
right,
And we'll have to figure out where that goes, but,
Yeah.
no initial or renewal permit shall be issued without compliance with the elements of the submitted application. So, I don't think we need to say that, because the application is, if I guess it's in there because at the
Yeah.
inspection is confirming your application.
Yeah, we were, I think we put that in there because the idea with the renewal was, if
This
they
is in the
change,
inspection, not the renewal section.
no initial or renewal permit shall be issued without compliance with the elements of the
Oh,
submitted
okay.
application.
Oh, I got it, yeah, yeah.
So we're saying,
So
like,
we're saying when he's doing it, he has the application information with him and he's confirming that.
yeah, that
the
the
reality
part, yeah, like
matches the
whatever,
application.
if they've made changes
Yeah.
or whatever, that we
Okay.
want it to be unless they're amending their application.
Okay, and that's true, because in the renewal, we ask for a lot. I think we say you can fill out less information.
Yeah,
I think that's the next thing.
right.
Yeah, renewal permits. The applicant will provide the town of Rochester with any changes to the original underlying application determined by the code enforcement officer, all which will then on forms, we don't need that sentence.
Which one?
All of which will be on forms provided by the code enforcement office. It's a given.
Are we keeping along with the
now,
current?
I would keep it
application?
in there,
Oh,
because somebody's
okay.
gonna say I'm making up my own form,
Oh, yeah, they do that.
right?
Okay,
Yeah, forms
along with the current application fee, any applicant who applies for a short-term rental permit and did not hold a permit for the immediate prior year shall be considered an initial applicant and not a renewal. So if you have it, and then you give it up for a year, and you come back again, you start over again. And then we say, you can reapply 90 days prior to expiration, so Becky doesn't get them all at the same month.
Right now, don't they all expire December 31st?
Yes.
So why don't we just put the date?
Okay,
Why don't we put?
did we say, oh yeah, we did
Before
say
December
December 31st.
31st?
Yeah,
So why
So
don't we just
3
say
months
by
before-
October 1st or something?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
They can start.
by beginning October 1st.
Yep.
Yep. But we put that in, so she just didn't get dumped on. Oh, my pen is self-destructive.
You need another one?
No, I'm okay, I just, piece went flying somewhere.
That's right.
Sometimes they do. I have an extra one. You're welcome to.
Thank you.
It's still my advertising.
It's not the first time it's happened to this pen.
Self-destruction?
Yeah, it happened the other day, and a piece
It's
went
not
flying
gonna go.
across the room, that's how I knew
I'm
it
terrible
existed.
at doing that. Boom. See, perfect.
Like that.
They're old.
This one doesn't have a name on it.
It's mine.
That's what I get from,
Either it's a fine.
Taking a pen from a planning
No,
company at
I
a
think
convention.
it's also the same pen
Mike uses.
color, so he just puts
That's
one.
just me. I don't know how old that is. I may have used it a million times.
Okay,
You may get
moving
two
on.
years out of it. It's been in
How's the
my
board feel? It's
packets.
8:30 and we want to meet with Mary Lou. Do you want to keep going? We're on page,
When are we planning to do a public hearing?
we don't know.
Not yet.
Until
We're
Okay,
just,
then, why don't we?
We actually have two more pages, so I think it's going to go fairly quickly.
From your mouth to
um,
God's ears.
Well, we'll see. General permit regulations. Copies of the permit must be displayed in the dwelling unit in a place where it's easily visible to the occupants and in a window where it's easily visible from the exterior of the dwelling.
So can it be a two-sided copy?
It could be, could be. The reason we wanted exterior is so if an enforcement officer comes, a police officer or something,
We know who the manager.
we know who the contact is. That's why we
want
want
to light up like the lift logos in the car.
Yeah. The permit, in any given year will expire on December 31. A renewal permit shall be submitted by January 1 and may be submitted, there we say 90 days. So should we just say it may be submitted after October 1st to the,
Yeah, the permit offer. Let's see. I mean, isn't that the same thing we have above,
yeah,
except for the expiration?
yeah. We're just saying your permit is good for 1 year and you can reapply 90 days ahead.
How about?
If it's already covered in renewal permits, I don't think it needs to be in this
Right.
part.
So we should though put going back to renewal permits then.
Mhm.
Permit holders shall be able to apply for renewal permits beginning October 1st or between
October 1st and January
January
1st.
1st.
So instead of saying beginning, we say between.
I would say December 31st, actually,
Yeah,
because
okay.
October
we're not
1st
taking
and
anything on
December
January.
31st, yep. And if you reapply at the last minute and it takes you a month to
Right, I
get
was
it,
gonna say, do we want to say between October 1st and December 1st?
So
there's
this was-
time to
I-
actually
For the
process.
reapplication.
This was something that I brought up a lot, was that this idea that like, if they submit an application on December 31st, they're not gonna get their renewal because they're,
Right.
so there's gonna be this lapse.
Yeah.
So like, do we wanna build that into the code that they could, or do we wanna make it so,
I think we just say that they need to renew
Have to be
between October and
compliant.
December 1st.
yeah,
So let me ask you a question. I mean, we're all in agreement, this is a good thing, it's good for tourism, we're trying to make it easier on people. Is there any reason, like our insurance registration, we wouldn't mail it out to them? To have it
Yeah.
redone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It needs to be initiated by them. We don't have the system set up to trigger us.
And then maybe
That it's
500
coming
maybe after
due.
we get that signed.
That'd
Easily,
be 500 would be great,
500.
Yeah.
but
we don't-
I'm thinking.
we don't have the ability to-
And then 30% non-compliant, and then.
I know, that's
Yeah.
what I'm,
It sounds like a lot of work at the end of the year and the first of the year.
It is.
Also, if you put a lot of work in May to opening your Airbnb, do you have to wait until October to start?
no,
No.
your initial application can come in at any
Initial
time,
applications come in any time.
Okay.
We're
It's
just
the
talking about the
is
renewal.
October.
because that
We
is
didn't
like,
want them to come in too soon, but we didn't want them all to come in at the last minute.
and
Do we
I'm
have
concerned
mobile
about,
apps, and what do we do for those?
creating
They are all on the
gap.
same schedule,
you know,
every one of them.
Right, and what
Yeah.
do they do
What, that
for
people fall through the
renewals?
cracks?
no, that,
What do you mean?
Are
what
they
do you do?
renewed or is it,
Those, Jerry just contacts them and says, because there's like,
so, right,
But
but
there's
there's
like
only
8 of them.
4 or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
so it's different than these. I mean, we don't have the wherewithal to trigger us to send a letter to everybody to remind them that,
Or is
I mean, we
there
can put a
any
reminder
advantage?
on the website.
Is
We
there,
can announce it on October 1st at, or the September meeting every year. or
well, is there any
put that in.
advantage then to having it just be an annually renewable? If you got it on May 1st, it's due on May 1st?
no, it's better for the conversation with Becky and the code enforcement office is like Mary Lou said, manufactured housing parks are all the same month.
Yeah.
It's better for them with their scheduling
Mhm.
around busy times, because the summer is really busy. So it's better if all these inspections are in the month of December kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's timing of
It's
the
kind
year.
of a more of a lag time. then.
Yeah.
They're not getting called through the racetrack.
It's
they're
it's
not-
much more, January 1 actually works out as a great time for them.
Their downtime.
So are we putting beginning October 1 to December 1st?
that way.
Well, that was
Between
Aaron's
October
suggestion. I
1st
kind of like that idea.
That way we have time to do inspections and
Mhm.
Right.
my concern is that the way this is written, you're like, okay, I've got to renew, I'm gonna send it in like
On the 31st.
on the 31st,
Okay.
and they're like, well, you're not gonna get your renewal
Yeah.
until,
next
So we'll
year?
change it to December 1.
Well, why?
And then in number 3 on the next, we take out the all renewal permits shall run. No, there's
Yeah,
no
they'll
reason
still
not
run
to change
way,
that.
right.
Yeah.
They'll still run that way. It's number 2.
Oh,
that
number
we're
2,
taking
yeah.
out of.
Yeah. Renewal permit shall be submitted by January 1. Because if you don't submit it and you don't submit it till January, then you're shut down until you get your new permit because your permit expired December 31 and it's kind of on you.
It's the same way with trucks. Trailers expire December 31st of every year. Every year the motor vehicle requires you.
Yeah.
If you don't have them, you're not gonna run your truck until
I
you
mean,
get it.
to me, Adam, it's on the onus. You're running a business.
Yeah.
It's your onus to get your permit.
Sure.
So I don't think, because then if we miss sending a letter out to somebody, then we hear, oh, you didn't send me a letter.
Yeah, then it is.
So I'd rather just be, here's your permit, here's the day it expires, apply soon enough to get your new one if you want to
I just
continue.
did, my car inspection was 2 months overdue, so I'm just thinking about that, so.
I can't tell you the number of times since raising my registration, my inspection don't match up anymore because a couple of times it went a month longer.
Exactly, so.
Okay, number 3, initial permit approved after November 1st shall be allowed to run through December 1st of the subsequent year. So if you get your approval in November, we're not going to make you reapply in January. we'll give you a 2 month sort of grace period and allow it to run over to the next year.
And again, that's approval, not,
That's initial.
that's initial,
That's
approve,
initial,
but
renewal.
that's approval, not when you submit the
Right.
Initial
application.
permit.
Right.
Okay.
And then all renewal permits shall run, so that should be in there.
Yes,
Rental permits shall not be assigned, pledged, sold, or otherwise transferred to other persons' business. So essentially, if you have a permit, you can't, if you sell the property, the permit doesn't go with the property.
They got that number 5 after property.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put a period.
All short-term rentals shall have posted on or about the inside of the front hall of each dwelling unit a card listing emergency contact information. Fire, police, obviously 911, but other one, an emergency contact for the unit. Such information shall be included, name, address, email, and phone number of the building owner, if local or local manager. Second local contact, person who's available for problems, emergencies that may arise. I don't know why did we say the second local contact?
Because probably that's a holdover. We originally were requiring them to have 2 when we did this a couple years ago.
Right, I don't think we need that,
because we,
because we're saying the local manager, which
We
we
didn't
say
put
has to
that
be within
anywhere
30
else.
miles.
Yeah.
So we'll take out the second. And instructions on dialing 911 for emergency fire ambulance assistance. I know it sounds silly, but in every hotel, you see the instructions of how to dial 911.
Yep.
This information shall also be posted on the outside of the house near the main door. That's where we're, for the first responders maybe, or for police who might show up, where it is easily visible from the exterior of the building. A local agent shall be able to respond in person within 1 hour. No person shall be housed separately and or apart from the dwelling unit in any tent, trailer, camper, lean-to, recreation vehicle, tiny house, boat, or non-dwelling unit. We tried to cover every possibility.
I told you I wanted to rent out
What we don't want is that people to be essentially turning outside into a party space. And with that, though, we had a big discussion about tenter, and if we want to allow tenter, we probably should address it differently from this short-term rental situation. So, because right now you can't camp longer than 30 days in our town on property that you own. So, and then shall not be adversely affect the residential character, again, Maren put this in, of the neighborhood, nor shall the use generate noise, vibration, glare, odors, or other effects, unreasonable interference with any person's enjoyment of his or her residence.
That seems.
That's the
pretty
chapter
ambiguous.
14020 of the zoning code for new applications.
Mhm.
So she paraphrased it to try to put it in this section.
It just doesn't seem enforceable.
I would agree.
And also, I know people who do not like their neighbors at all, and their definition of reasonable is very different.
I would agree with that too.
That word reasonable.
I don't think
is
it's enforceable.
vague.
I understand the basis for it
Mhm.
because it's trying to mirror restrictions that the planning board could put on something,
But again, we're not going
but
to.
we're not going for the planning board. So I think we should take that out.
And it's remaining a residential use and,
Yeah. So these are the house rules. Shall post for renters of each dwelling unit, list of house rules. They incorporate but not be limited to emergency exit plan. We think that's very important. Location of fire extinguishers and smoke alarms. So when that smoke alarm goes off and you can't find it. Identify the property lines in a statement emphasizing that unit occupants may be liable for illegal trespassing. Identify the procedure for disposal of refuse and garbage. Specify no bonfires during New York State designated no burn periods. If allowed by the property owner, specify outdoor fires shall be made solely within a fireplace or fire pit. So if they put this in their application that they're going to construct a fire pit, you can do them there, but you can't just build your own. Short be permitted to use for any commercial or social events. Now, I know Mary Lou's got questions here, and so do I.
Commercial I get. What's a social event?
Mhm.
If a bridal party
Wedding.
wants
That's
to,
what I was thinking.
the night before, I'm gonna have my bridesmaids, we're all gonna stay together. That's a social
I
event.
think we
Social
talked
barbecue.
We were
about
talking
taking
about-
that out because we were talking about like,
We may
We
have
brought-
taken it out.
we like brought up, well, like what if we're all, because I've done this where I go visit my family and then we all meet at one person's rental
And have,
The
and
social
have
event.
dinner
Yeah.
or whatever.
What we're trying to avoid is turning it into an outside party. I mean, we
Right.
have a property in town that has turned into a place to hold raves.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
Jerry just cited them for having running a,
They're running an ad on Facebook.
no, they're running a special events
Yep.
facility.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could we say large event and leave that to the,
No, because it's too,
because
yeah,
it's a house rule, so it's what the owner is
we're
saying
requiring it.
to the,
I mean, the goal is to stop the huge parties. I mean, there have been many instances or
is
some.
there a legal,
I
but
shouldn't
but they're
say.
not, that's not a commercial event necessarily, so how can we
No.
say that?
No, there have been large parties where, a few people get together, rent one, and then turn it into a crazy beer party. or
Animal
something.
House.
There's nothing wrong with a crazy beer party.
No, until it gets out of control
Sure.
and,
That can be said about anything.
yeah.
Everything's okay.
But,
until somebody
but
gets hurt.
the bigger thing is not the social event, it's the.
It's the noise accompanying.
Well,
it.
it's not just the people that are there, but it's more people coming, just like you're saying. And I'm thinking more if, hey, I rented a house for 12 people, but then, I had a wedding on it, or I had a bachelor party or a bridal party or anything else.
Right,
It's exceeding the occupancy limit of the house on the property significantly.
but if they're not staying overnight, can we limit it? If they're just there on the property? We couldn't stop a regular resident from having a wedding at their house.
And you couldn't stop. them
problem
from
with
having
this
a party
is
and having
These people,
fall down on their.
for lack of a
butts.
better, a more gentle way to put it, they don't
And we
care about
can't
the neighbors
require
because
them
they're
to
not
have
invested in the
insurance for
neighborhood.
How about this?
They're
The
not
person who lives in that
Yeah,
house
hopefully
has
they
to deal with the neighbors
Yeah.
365 days a year.
Instead of including the social part here,
Mhm.
why don't we address that concern by making it part of the application process? You have to put what your occupancy is and what the maximum number of people who would be allowed there for a social gathering during the day.
Okay,
Or in
Yeah.
but how can we limit it? If somebody puts down 200,
That's what I mean.
what gives us the authority to say, no, you can't do 200?
Then you don't get the permit.
Then we say,
But
oh,
based
because
on
parking,
what
you can't do
Right.
parking.
Parking and
Yeah.
septage.
Yeah.
Because to your point, if somebody's Airbnb 100-acre farm, and they have all this, space and they want to have 50 people over during the day, who's to say? But if it's on that point.
Really, if
But-
I rented an Airbnb here, right, I'm coming in from out of town and all my family's here.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, brothers and sisters, spouses and kids, we would have over 50 people
Right.
for a family dinner.
But if you rented the one on the 0.25 acres and,
Right.
with the 6, surrounding neighbors, that's not appropriate.
Mhm.
So where's the level
So
of
how do we
appropriate?
limit it? Right.
I have an idea.
I-
We can, in the application, say state intended purpose of property, and then in the house rule, like you said, this is more of a house rule. We could say short-term transient rental shall not use the property for purposes other than stated on the hosting platform. Or
on the
application.
On the application, right?
Yeah.
Because they
Because
could
again, then
state
if you had the
something
big farm and you want.
Shall not use the property for any, well, I think shall not be permitted to be used for any commercial use.
commercial.
Because-
Right.
What we don't want somebody who's rent a short-term rental
And then
unit
charge
and then
people.
rent it out to
Come.
somebody else for a
Oh,
wedding.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a commercial use.
Or
Or
even a
like
beer
throw a
party,
festival
Or
the
charge
rave.
money for
Or
the
the
rave,
rave,
yeah.
exactly.
whatever.
Or you charge per
So we'll
cup
leave
of
the
beer,
commercial use,
and then you
but-
start to have a commercial.
I'll
Yeah,
make
definitely
another-
You want to leave the commercial.
I'll make another sentence that says just what you just said, Chris.
Yeah, I
and,
like that.
And then we put that in the application.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Next is no outdoor camping shall be allowed. We just think it's important that you're renting the unit, not the property. So I know for the 100-acre property, nobody's gonna care, but it just leads itself to problems. So if we want to consider a separate law for short-term rental camping, we can certainly do that. I think the units, the dwelling units are the bigger issue for us to address right now. There's maybe a few properties that are doing glamping, but
Yeah, so, but we're not saying that like your family of 4 comes up with the two little kids.
And they want to.
And they like have little tents
No,
and they
I don't
bring it
think
to
we're
their
saying that.
That's exactly what I
Airbnb.
was thinking, if the
Like,
kids wanna
I don't think they're
bring-
saying
We're
that.
not saying that though. They,
It seems like we
Jerry
are.
shows
But
up.
it kinda
That's
sounds like
fine.
we
I know, it sounds like we are, and I guess technically we
Yeah, we
are,
are.
but how do we word it? Because what we don't want is here's the house and here's 20 tents.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
right.
You know, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you know.
I
No,
guess
but-
what I'm, though, so there's two things going on. So right now, we're looking at the house rules.
Yeah.
So the house rules are the things that we have on file that are posted for the renter, basically.
Mhm.
So like, what we're saying is like, no guests housed here through camping or something.
Additional guests?
But
No
but
additional.
yeah, because the thing, I
No,
feel
I
like
don't
the
think
thing
we
that
wanna
we're
say
saying
additional,
is,
though.
the thing that we're saying for real though is that you're not allowed to rent out campsites as the property owner.
Well, here's the other
Right?
thing, what,
How about we say this, Aaron, and exactly what you just said, no outdoor camping shall be allowed with the exception of
Permitted occupants,
that's what I was
nice.
of youth,
permitted
no.
occupants.
If
Yeah,
if you have a place that holds 12, but 6 people wanna be inside and 6 people wanna be outside.
that's what we're trying to avoid though, Adam, because if you get that quarter-acre property, Jerry doesn't have leeway, he can only decide based
Yeah,
on
but-
bedrooms and sleeping areas.
But that's what I'm saying, is if say the place holds 12, but 4 people wanna sleep outside, or 6 people wanna sleep out in the backyard for.
But that's more of an impact on the neighbors.
Yeah.
Think.
But they're gonna pee and poo inside. and
Then
so
we,
it- I think it
then we
qualifies.
should
But
say no
then it
camping.
would, it would limit it, if you had 12, you wouldn't end up with 12 people inside and 20 people outside.
But it's noise, it's
Yeah.
noise.
Then
and-
we should just say no camping because
Yeah.
Oh.
I like the idea.
I think we just say no
Kids are
camping,
away.
you know,
Yeah.
if your kids want to sleep outside,
And
go to a
it's
campground.
And it's the same.
Or
You know what I
like,
mean?
True.
I
I
hate
don't
to
Sleep
be-
outside
no.
all the time
Me
on a
too.
quarter, less than a quarter acre
also
lot.
I,
And
that, I guess that's,
and we
Yeah.
show movies in the
I mean,
backyard.
we gotta, yeah. Nobody's saying you can't show the movies in the back.
No, but that's what I'm saying, you talk about the noise, I
Yeah.
mean, you're in a residential neighborhood,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to sleep outside and they
Again,
own the house, they
this
can.
does.
We already are bending over pretty far for the people running these. I mean, we're making it fairly simple.
Because of what can happen.
Yeah.
What might happen, and
Yeah.
maybe that's not exactly fair,
Right.
but it's also,
Exactly. We have to
Not-
consider what might happen. And I
yeah,
think it's better to just say, you can't camp. It's cut and dried. I know it's harsh. And to be honest, if a couple kids camp outside,
yeah, that's what I,
if nobody complains about it,
We're
it's
not
not a
well, that's,
violation.
yeah, that's the point I was trying to make is like, if what we're trying to prevent is half of the house guests camping outside because they want to, then we should say no camping. And if the family
Yeah.
pitches a little tent and their kids are sleeping in it, I don't, it's probably not.
It opens the door for bad neighbor to neighbor, I think. As soon as you open it up, it becomes more of a free-for-all.
Mhm.
When it's contained within the house, there's limits. The walls are gonna limit the noise to some degree right there.
Also, the public's gonna read this, I'm sure, and maybe some
That's right.
other
Yeah.
ideas on this will come.
Yeah,
up.
we may,
Fair enough.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, we're gonna do a public hearing, and I can guarantee you, be prepared. We're gonna have a public hearing like you guys have
we
never seen
already
before.
I
did
saw
one once.
Yeah.
Chris saw it, the first one.
On the other side, right?
Yeah,
And we listened a lot, and Chris, I think, can tell you, we
Yeah,
listened to
there's
a
a
lot.
big
of what was
adjustment
said.
afterwards.
Yeah,
I'm not in favor of that no camping, but I
I'm-
like that it says, but not limited to. So if somebody wants to add that to the house rules, they can. Because I think we're getting into a
well, we're
territory.
saying it shall incorporate it, so we're saying you
things
must
have to be in
incorporate
it.
these.
You
I
could
know.
put other rules.
Yeah, I'm
but you
saying,
have to
don't
have these.
let that one be in there because I'm not in favor of that one. Because then why not put, don't defecate in nearby rivers? Why not say, don't punch people in the face?
Well, but we're saying no camping
they really
because
don't
we
want camping.
don't want people camping.
Okay, how
We're
about
specific about, it. We don't want people
nobody
camping
can be
outside.
on the deck having a drink after 10? You know what I mean? You talk about the
Well, yeah, I
the
mean,
camping, but if
you
they're
can
gonna
think
be
of
out
any
making
example.
noise, they're gonna be out making a noise, they just won't sleep.
How about we
I'm not gonna
say,
have one, I'm
no,
gonna do it on my
overnight
own property.
camping shall be allowed.
Well, I mean,
Say that again.
Well, no overnight camping, no outdoor overnight camping shall be
Again,
allowed.
maybe,
I mean,
let's take some additional thought on this,
The
but.
point is to stop the people that are out in the tent, you know, they're up till 4 or 5 in the morning, making noise, the neighbors are impacted. If it's in a house, it's more control. That's the point of it, of why no camping. It's primarily noise and
Right, I'm just saying if they're making noise, they're gonna be outside making noise.
they
whether
could
they're in
be,
a tent or
they
not.
could be. I know we're not gonna solve everything, but
It's true.
Right.
the
It's up to you
camping
guys.
itself kind of leads, our opinion is, and Jerry is pretty strong about the no camping. A lot of this came from Jerry, because Jerry feels strongly about the 30 days of camping on your property. Now, a whole separate thing, we did talk about opening it up if somebody's building a house and wants to put a camper on in short term, he might be okay with that, but he's pretty, he gets an awful lot of complaints of people camping out on properties at short-term rentals right now, so. That's why, we can always take it back out later. Let's see what the public has
Yeah.
to say.
Fair enough.
And parking allowed solely in the designated parking spaces. This is also in the house rules. So, it's 9:00. Well, the next is complaints. I'll tell you what. Why don't you read through the last two sections yourself?
Yeah.
If you see anything that you feel really opposed to, shoot me an email. I can sort of consolidate them and bring it to
The only other
you.
comment I have on
Yeah,
here,
did you have one
actually-
other one? Oh, Mary, with the whole violation section,
Yeah,
it's a placeholder. You tell us what it should say.
okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
We have a violation section for the code.
okay. So you tell me if it even needs to
No,
be
we
in
take it
there?
out.
Okay,
Which
And at
code?
least, yeah,
the
Well,
violation
yeah.
section.
The
Well,
reason
what
I
she said
say,
in the code, which code?
this is part of the zoning, it's gonna be.
Oh, it's already in the
Zoning
zoning
has-
code.
And it's in
Zoning
the
code
zoning.
already
code,
has the
penalty.
violations in the
Okay.
zoning code.
but do we have to then somehow comply with and mesh the two together? Is that why this was initiated? I
No,
know
this
this
was,
is
No, I'm
where-
saying you don't have.
this
to
was in here because it
the-
was copied from the model law that we used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary
This
Lou
is
was
the one
saying
that
we have a
says-
violation section in
We have
our
this
zoning
section
code.
already in our code for the entire code.
And this will be part of our zoning code. So the violation section applies to anything in the zoning
I
code.
do have
correct?
one question that doesn't have to get answered now, but it's in the recommendation letter. This was something that a lot of the members of the board supported, and I also support the idea of creating a cap on permits per applicant, not for the town itself, but coming 10, you can't have more than 10.
And that would be
short-term.
separate from this law.
Oh, it would, so that
yeah.
was my question. Is that something that we established separately?
Well, I
or is
don't
it
know,
part
Mary
of the
Lou, would
law?
it be? Some places say you can't get a permit unless you're a primary occupant. We're not saying that, but we want to put a cap so one person doesn't come in and open 25.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is, but we
And
thought,
that's happening in our town. It
Yeah.
is happening in our town.
to manage it because we don't, we kind of feel that somebody opening that many is really stretching the limit.
And I think one of the reasons why we really like this law is because the residents in our community are able to do this and make a living and support tourism. But if we have someone who's basically running,
They're taking the housing stock.
yeah, it's not good for the
They're
town.
they're
Then
just
it's
managing
extractive.
these open houses is
Right.
what they're doing, and they're making the
Right.
profit.
And they're
just
not the
extracting
property
wealth.
owner.
So
Right.
how can we,
And the other problem is it takes away housing stock. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
big issues of short-term rentals is people rent them or buy them strictly as a short-term rental unit. And then it takes away your long-term rental ability in your
Yeah,
town.
your housing.
and
And-
housing
and-
stock,
Mhm.
Yeah.
a lot of these are really affordable places that they just gets
Yeah.
taken up.
Yeah, a lot of these are lower level. Not every one is the $1,000 a night place. I was just looking up in the Adirondacks for one, and the disparity in prices was phenomenal of places. Some places were. There was one in Marbletown that was renting for $5,000 a night and was getting it. So
So I'd be curious to know how we would.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that, and of course,
well, we
what
could
these
limit.
people who are
yeah.
savvy will do
was
is they
just
will
gonna say.
form
Well,
LLCs.
Yes,
and
I
mean,
corporations.
I know
Yeah.
people can get around anything, but I feel like at least,
At least we've
We've-
talked about it and we've made it a little more difficult for them. Because what we don't want
Yeah,
to.
I'll have have to look. I don't know if that's
10
even
is a big
something we
number.
can.
I know, I.
Well, I know
I'm
other
saying,
places
but that
have
was a good
limited
place to
to,
start.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's gonna hold up.
right,
Yeah.
true.
5 would be
One of,
interesting.
one of the things is once we start getting the permits and kind of seeing where they're coming from, it might have the cause to jump into
I
something
was
like
gonna
that, where
say, yeah,
make an
maybe
amendment.
we,
It
Yeah,
doesn't,
except
maybe,
once it started, I don't know if you can back out of it.
no, but you can say, okay, look,
Modify
we
it.
recognize this now, so we're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like closing the gate.
It doesn't solve though,
Yeah,
because that person will be
I'll look-
grandfathered in.
My, obviously I've never looked into this. This is the first time I'm hearing this. My initial gut reaction is, I don't know that we are allowed to do that, whether other people are, whether
Okay.
they're doing it or not. And,
Well, some are saying you must be a resident of the property to apply for the permit is essentially what, and I think you probably can do that.
That I'm sure you can do, yeah.
And some are limiting the number of permits that are issued in.
For the
in-
total
For the
town.
total,
Right.
But we didn't.
Which
want to
probably
do
I
is
don't wanna
also
do that and
legal.
have right.
which probably also is legal.
I don't know.
Well, I would think just based on your housing stock and I don't know. I mean,
Fair enough
some
question.
people have tried to tell me, there should only be a Dollar General every 20 miles. And I'm like, well, we
Well,
can't
50
limit
years
that.
ago, there was no zoning, so now we have zoning, and now we're just trying to define it.
Yeah.
And the complaint section is pretty straightforward. I think we read them and we can-
Yeah, I mean, and that was really it, because the
All right, so
violation
I'll look
premises we
at
don't
that,
need. So
That issue.
I'll clean it up. Actually, since it was less changes than we really thought, I'll try to clean it up and get it to you, but I don't think we're ready to set it for public hearing.
Well, and I think before you set it for public hearing.
We
you
should
want
have another
Jerry to
meeting.
go-
Yeah,
Well,
I'd
you want
like-
Jerry to go through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'd like.
I'll
you-
clean it up,
I
get it
hate
to
for
Jerry,
him
get
to
feedback
say,
from
This should
him.
be in there and you took it out, or
Jerry and Becky.
we can't do this.
We will be having a special meeting. Well, Becky was a part of the committee, so we will be having a special meeting in September at some point to talk about the RFP. So we could always throw this on that same agenda. Okay, I'm gonna skip in the time, the constabulary conversation. Except to tell you that I'm not sure we're ever really gonna get an answer back from that committee. So I think we should just move forward with what we wanna do. Let's
Can-
talk about it more at a different
Okay.
meeting.
Okay,
I don't want to start it tonight, and
Mhm.
because it's 9 o'clock already, and we have to meet with Mary Lou yet about a really immediate need.
Yeah.
So, With that-
Motion to adjourn?
thank you.
I'll
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Let me
Okay.
close. We'll see how this worked. I will listen and see if that microphone picked up or not. I'm sure people staring at me all night is gonna be interesting, but
Good meeting.